Chapter 752. He didn't expect the king to revoke the decree as soon as he left. I remember that back then, I gave a lot of suggestions to the king, solved all kinds of problems, and made the whole Gouda principality flourish. Sigh. Lingtai kingdom had not received any protection for 3 years. I reckon that it has already fallen. Just by looking at how the people from the royal family had fled here, one could understand. Miss, Madam is asking you to eat. The maidservant stood outside the door and shouted respectfully. Got it. Mu Ran heaved a sigh of relief and walked out of the room. 3 years later, the family of 4 enjoyed the reunion dinner very much. Muangwa also picked some food for his daughter and asked with a smile, Ran, how's your study in the Tianliang sect? Fortunately, under Master's guidance, Ran has become a heavenly law doja, Mu Ran said softly. She said it in a very relaxed manner, as if the heavenly law was very easy. Muangwa laughed, heavenly law doja, not bad, not bad. After saying that, Muangwa was stunned. Not only Muangwa, but his mother, Huang Qiuhua, and Muda were also stunned. Heavenly law. Doja. Muangwa's voice was trembling as he looked at his daughter's indifferent appearance in disbelief. Muda grabbed his sister's hand and exclaimed, You're really a heavenly Dao doja now. Mu Ran chuckled and said, Yes, the way of heaven. There wasn't a single elite in the Tao of heaven in the entire Gouda dukedom. His younger sister wasn't even 20 yet, and she was already in the Tao of heaven. Oh my God! The Mu family was about to rise. He had quite a lot of face outside. His younger sister was an elite in the Tao of heaven. Who dared to be disrespectful? Even the king had to treat it with caution. The heavens have blessed the Mu family. Huang Qiuhua cried tears of joy. She understood what the heavens meant. His daughter's future was limitless. Muangwa put down his chopsticks and looked at his daughter with tears of joy in his eyes. Ran, you look great. Lord Father, Lord Mother, Big Brother, don't be like this, Mu Ran was also a bit infected. I didn't expect that my parents would have such a big reaction. However, when he thought of how desperate it was when he advanced to become a doja, other than the disciples of the Tianliang sect, there were also other disciples fighting for the chance to become a doja. It could be considered a narrow escape from death to obtain the inheritance of the heavenly Tao. When he returned to the heavenly cold sect, he was praised by the sect master, and his master was even more fond of him. An elite in the Tao of heaven. This was the treatment given to those in the Tao of heaven. Ran, you've given face to the Mu family. Father, this is what Ran should do. Mu Ran smiled faintly. She seemed very normal and did not act high and mighty just because of her identity. She was a very amiable girl. The entire Mu family was immersed in joy as they looked forward to the next morning's morning court session. When such news spread, it would definitely shake the entire duchy of Gouda. Mu Ran's name would spread throughout the entire northern Liang. At this time, Wei Chang and Tang Wei were sitting on a small stool, gnawing on a steamed bun, and discussing the plan in a low voice. Uncle Wei, I just asked around, this girl is more powerful than we thought. Tang Wei was still very smart. She knew that when she asked around, Wei Chang chopped firewood for an entire morning. How powerful! This Mu Ran is very intelligent and has the achievements of a great genius. At a young age, he has led troops to fight against the enemy and has a record of 10 victories. He is also very talented in governance and was sent to the Cold Sky sect 3 years ago. Wei Chang frowned slightly after hearing this. This Mu Ran was indeed a talent. Tang Wei said in a low voice, right now, his honor is in need of manpower. A girl like Mu Ran is very suitable. After all, we are lacking in governance. Xiao Tang, you want to let this Mu Ran join the team? Wei Chang asked puzzledly. This idea is very special. But we still need to observe her," Tang Wei said in a low voice. Right now, the requirements to join the team was very harsh. If one does not meet his honor's requirements, one would not be able to join the team. Then, have you ever thought about loyalty? You said it just now, she fought for this country, so she should have feelings for this country. Also, Cold Sky Sect, would she be willing to serve his honor? Wei Chang felt that it was very difficult to find a girl like this. Tang Wei said jokingly, "Uncle Wei, back then, Zi Shan was not completely unwilling, but in the end, didn't she still join the team? That is because Zi Shan married Yi Hong." Speaking up to here, Wei Chang seemed to have understood what Tang Wei meant, and the corner of his mouth slightly twitched. So, Tang Wei was actually thinking of a honey trap, f*ck. Xiao Tang, this idea of yours is too sloppy. His honor isn't going to be the matchmaker anymore. Wei Chang laughed lightly. Uncle Wei, I didn't say that I want his honor to be the matchmaker, I just want to give it a try. It would be best if there is an effect, but if there is no effect, then forget about it. What do you think? Wei Chang pondered for a moment. If this girl is truly talented, she will indeed be a good helper, and she will be able to solve a lot of his honor's problems. Our team is all married, aren't you afraid that their wives will beat them to sh*t? Wei Chang laughed bitterly. It seems like only his honor isn't afraid of his wife, the rest of the team are all being controlled by their wives. There's also me, and that fellow Do Fusher. There are still people who aren't married. You aren't talking about Blood Demon, right? He is someone who is obsessed with cooking, and isn't interested in women at all. Uncle Wei. I am not talking about Blood Demon, that. Tang Wei blinked her beautiful eyes. Wei Chang's expression sunk. You aren't talking about Yun Lang, right? Yun Lang is a dog. Tang Wei, I am talking about Sky Red. Wei Chang immediately became speechless. Xiao Tang, every time Sky Red sees a woman, he would call her a scumbag. If you ask him to come over, I am afraid that he will directly twist off Mu Ran's head. Luo Ho is still alright, he is also handsome. Wei Chang shook his head. This idea of Sky Red's is not good, I am afraid that he might not be able to control himself and kill someone else. Tang Wei explained attentively, Uncle Wei, it isn't good for Sky Red to continue like this. Ask him to come over, whether or not he succeeds will depend on his luck. If he succeeds, that would also be a wonderful thing. After all, Sky Red has been in pain for so long, and the knot in his heart is about to be untied. Wei Chang took a deep breath. I don't have much contact with this Sky Red, but he is indeed a pitiful man. If there is someone who loves him, everyone would be happy, and Yu Hua would also feel less guilty. Will this work? After all, Sky Red looks like that. Wei Chang was a bit worried. After all, in terms of appearance, Sky Red doesn't have any advantage at all. You don't understand, right? If one were to judge a person based on their appearance, that would be too superficial. Sky Red is a good man, and only a smart woman would be able to discover that Sky Red is a good man. Wei Chang looked at Tang Wei and suddenly laughed. Xiao Tang, now that his honor isn't going to be the matchmaker, you came over to worry about Yun Lang. Does that mean that in the future, you will have to worry about Yun Lang's personal problems too? Chapter 753. Alright, if you become Mu Ran's personal maid, I can arrange for Tsangkong Hong to join us. Hearing that Wei Chang agreed, Tang Wei happily kissed him. You're the one who said it. What are you two talking about? You are still eating. Hurry up and get to work. That harsh servant girl shouted arrogantly from the side. Wei Chang and Tang Wei quickly got up and started working. Humph. What's the use of being pretty? Foxy. The maid snorted coldly, then turned around and left. Tang Wei pouted her mouth. I haven't been scolded by someone for a long time, I'm not used to it. I really want to punch that maid's head. Thinking back to the time when I was in God's realm, the might of that punch still makes my blood boil. When will I be able to fight again? I'm really looking forward to that scene. This Kangluo continent is such a good place. On this day, Wei Chang and Tang Wei kept busy and only went to sleep late at night. His honor's mission is really not simple. Early morning the next day, Mu Ongwa prepared to set off with his daughter Mu Ran. Today, Mu Ran dressed up a little, she was pure like a lotus. This was not an act, Mu Ran was originally such a girl, she was spotless. Under the gaze of Mother Huang Qiuhua and Brother Muda, the father and daughter sat on a carriage and headed towards the palace. Guda Principality's palace was a bit tall. This was not because the building was tall, but because the terrain was relatively high. From afar, the entire appearance of the palace could be seen. In front of the palace, the father and daughter got off the carriage and walked into the palace. The surrounding people looked towards the father and daughter, especially when they saw Mu Ran, their complexion was a bit bad. Because Mu Ran was too doted on by the king even sent her to Tianliang's sect to study. Now that she suddenly came back, no one knew what was going on. Earl Mu Ran is back. A slightly plump man could be seen walking over. Although this person was slightly plump, there was a mole at the corner of his eye, giving off a bad feeling. His sideburns were already white, and he was at least 60 years old. Mu Ongwa hurriedly bowed, Marquis Ding. Mu Ran, who was following behind, also bowed, Marquis Ding. Ding Wenfu, a great hero, had a very good relationship with the king, but ever since Mu Ran appeared, the king and Ding Wenfu's opinions had diverged, causing Ding Wenfu to be dissatisfied. It's been 3 years. Ran has grown taller and prettier. Ding Wenfu said with a faint smile. As he smiled, the mole at the corner of his eye rose slightly, giving off a gloomy feeling. Mu Ran said in a tender voice, Marquis Ding is also old but vigorous. The more you live, the younger you become. Ran is still so good at talking. Why did you suddenly come back? How are your studies in the Tianliang sect? Ding Wenbo asked curiously. Don't tell me I was expelled from the Tianliang sect. That would be a joke. Mu Ran said softly, I haven't seen my parents for 3 years. With my master's permission, I came back to see them. So that's how it is. What a filial child. Earl Mu, you've given birth to a good daughter. Mu Ongwa chuckled and did not deny it. He generously accepted Ding Wenbo's praise. When Ding Wenbo saw that Mu Ongwa actually accepted it happily, he was slightly stunned. Does he really think he's someone important? If it wasn't for your daughter, you wouldn't be who you are today. A father's status depended on his daughters. Walking up the high steps, everyone stood in the hall, waiting for the king. And these people were all discussing in low voices, discussing who, of course, it was Mu Ran. His Majesty has arrived. A eunuch shouted out loudly with a duck-like voice. Everyone lowered their heads, and a middle-aged man who wore an emperor robe could be seen slowly walking out. His entire body was emitting out a majestic aura, and when he saw the petite figure below, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Yi Zichen asked straightforwardly, is this emperor's genius? According to Mu Ran's current identity, there was basically no need for her to salute. After all, she was currently a heavenly law's agent, and even the king had to be respectful to her. However, Mu Ran still kneeled down and saluted. Mu Ran pays respect to your majesty, long live your majesty. As expected of my genius, quickly get up, let me take a good look at you. It has already been 3 years since we last met. King Feng Yongzhang sat on the throne and didn't even care about the etiquette and directly greeted Mu Ran. From this, one could see Feng Yongzhang's attitude towards Mu Ran. This caused the old officials to feel a bit resentful. Isn't this a bit too, trusting a girl that much? Especially Ding Wenfu. During these 3 years, His Majesty had once again trusted me, and the moment this Mu Ran came back, His Majesty immediately changed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Mu Ran slowly stood up and raised her head. As expected of my genius, it has been 3 years since I last met you, and you have become so beautiful. I am too happy today. I will set up a banquet tonight to celebrate the return of the genius. Feng Yongzhang shouted out straightforwardly. He was truly happy and wasn't faking it. Towards this extraordinary girl, Feng Yongzhang had absolute trust in her. After 3 years of settling down, Mu Ran also knew of her current situation. Accompanying a monarch was akin to accompanying a tiger. Everyone understood this logic. Your Majesty is flattering me. Mu Ran said respectfully, neither servile nor overbearing. Mu Ran, how was your studies in Tianliang's sect during these 3 years? Did you manage to step into the ranks of agents? Mu Onghua, who was within the crowd, revealed a smile on his face. At this moment, his daughter's name will spread throughout the entire northern Liang region. Chapter 754. Looking at His Majesty's expression, Ding Wenbo hurriedly said, no. However, Mu Ran didn't want any status. She just wanted to know why the Lingtai Kingdom's protection had been revoked. Saintess, you should be 19 this year, right? Feng Yongzhang asked with a smile, as if he wanted to tie this heavenly Tao elite to his side. The moment the crowd heard the emperor's tone, they knew what he meant. By the looks of it, he wanted Mu Ran to marry into the royal family so that he could tie down this elite in the Tao of heaven. It was a good idea, but was it really that easy to kidnap an elite in the Tao of heaven? Mu Ran also knew what His Majesty meant and said softly, yes. Earl Mu, the saintess is still engaged. Feng Yongzhang asked. He really wanted to tie Mu Ran up to the imperial palace right now. With a heavenly law doja here, who would dare to invade? Mu Onghua walked out of the crowd and respectfully said, Your Majesty, the holy maiden is not engaged. Feng Yongzhang revealed a smile and said happily, My 4th prince is a man of striking appearance and is still unmarried. I believe the two of you are a perfect match. Everyone knew that among the emperor's sons, the 4th prince Feng Yun was the most outstanding. Originally, the position of crown prince was still empty, but looking at the current situation, it was certain that the position of crown prince would belong to the 4th prince. However, Feng Yongzhang's words could be considered as forceful execution. He had no intention of asking at all. In Feng Yongzhang's heart, he was the one who sent Mu Ran to the Tianliang sect. In return, it wasn't too much for her to marry his son. Therefore, he didn't think too much about it. Mu Ran's expression was still normal as he said, Your Majesty, but before Mu Ran could finish, she was interrupted by Ding Wenbo. Your Majesty, the holy maiden means that her marriage must be approved by the Tianliang sect. As soon as he said that, the whole place quietened down, and Feng Yongzhang's face darkened. Mu Ran was now a Heaven Dao elite, and he definitely had a high status in Tianliang sect. It was impossible for Tianliang sect to let him go so easily. Although this sentence was said by Ding Wenfu, it was also Mu Ran's intention. This is completely provoking this empress. Mu Onghua's heart sank. This Ding Wenbo. How dare he frame his own daughter and sow discord? Bastard! Mu Onghua hurriedly explained, Your Majesty, that's not what the saint meant. Feng Yongzhang ignored Mu Onghua. He looked at Mu Ran and asked, Saintess, can this emperor decide your marriage? Hearing this, Ding Wenbo laughed in his heart. If Mu Ran said yes, then he would have offended the Cold Sky sect. If he said no, then he would have offended His Majesty. Only death awaited him. Fight with me. Little girl. Mu Ran took a deep breath. This was a dilemma. She softly said, "Your Majesty, Master treats Mu Ran very well. I will report the marriage to the Cold Sky sect. I will listen to your Majesty's arrangements." Hearing Mu Ran's words, Feng Yongzhang immediately smiled and said, "The saintess is very intelligent, I like her very much." Everyone knew what Mu Ran meant. The Tianliang sect's influence was huge, and it was not something that the Gouda principality could resist. Mu Ran's words meant that he would explain everything when he returned and then listen to the king's arrangements. This was also to avoid offending the Tianliang sect. She was very meticulous. Mu Ran did have this intention, but her biggest intention was to protect her family. Her parents were all living here, and they were His Majesty's hostages. If she did not obey, His Majesty would definitely use her parents to threaten her. However, she did not want to see the Tianliang sect attack the Gouda principality because of her, causing the common people to live in misery. If a marriage could solve all of this safely, she would accept it. Ding Wenbo did not expect Mu Ran to agree. It seemed that he had underestimated this little girl. If it was someone else, they would definitely use the Tianliang sect as a shield, and even His Majesty would not dare to make a move. A heavenly law doja actually agreed to this kind of thing. It was really unimaginable. A kind heart could really kill people. She had ruined her future here. What a joke. The morning court ended in a joyous atmosphere. There was still a banquet for His Majesty in the evening. At that time, His Majesty would introduce Mu Ran and Feng Yun. The father and daughter sat in the carriage and went home. They did not speak along the way. Muangwa knew how great his daughter's sacrifice was. She had sacrificed her own happiness for both sides, and she had even sacrificed her path to becoming a powerhouse. When they arrived at the Mu mansion, the father and daughter slowly got off the carriage and walked in. Just as they walked into the mansion, they saw a woman holding a whip, chasing another woman and beating her. It was that servant girl who was chasing Tang Wei and beating her. This was a scene that Wei Chang had carefully designed. It was also a burst of inspiration. It was taken from Sun Takashi. Seeing this situation, Mu Ran's face instantly darkened. "What are you doing?" Tang Wei immediately shouted, "Miss, save me, I'm going to be beaten to death by her." Tang Wei's arm was purple and red, and it was even bleeding. This was a good tool. "Miss, this lowly servant girl stole food." The servant girl immediately shouted. Tang Wei pitifully explained, "Miss, she didn't give us food. I only took a steamed bun for my husband. Even if it's trash. You, a lowly servant girl, has no right to take it. This belongs to the Mu mansion. You two are shameless." "Enough!" Mu Ran shouted. She rarely got angry, but today she could not hold it in. Which girl would face this kind of thing with a strong will? She was not a god. "Mississippi." The servant girl quickly knelt down. Mu Ran said coldly, "My Mu mansion does not need people like you. Miss. You can't chase me away because of an outsider, miss. Spare me." The servant girl instantly panicked. In the past, Miss would help her, but she did not expect that she would help that lowly servant girl. "I don't want to see you again," Mu Ran said in a low voice. She then helped Tang Wei up. "Follow me." Tang Wei trembled as she followed behind Mu Ran. Her acting skills were indeed top-notch. Even now, she still showed a look of fear. As for the servant girl, she sat on the ground with a face of death. "Scram!" Muangwa shouted coldly. Very quickly, a servant threw the servant girl out. When Wei Chang saw this, he revealed a smile. Tang Wei's acting skills were getting better and better. She finally managed to sneak in. Mu Ran brought Tang Wei to her boudoir and took out some medicine. "Sit," Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei shrunk to the side with a look of fear. This kind of expression was very normal in front of Mu Ran. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Mu Ran squeezed out a smile. It was a forced smile. She was already injured to this extent, but she still had to take care of others. This was fate. She would rather hurt herself than see others get hurt. Tang Wei slowly sat down with fear in her heart. Stretch out your hand. Mu Ran said tenderly. Tang Wei sincerely hoped that this girl would be good to her, if only Blue Sky Hong was able to woo her. Chapter 755. Mu Ran took out a healing ointment and applied it on Tang Wei's arm. Tang Wei bit her lips tightly, seeming to be in pain. Bear with it, it is a bit painful. Mu Ran said lightly. Tang Wei nodded her head, her performance was on point. After a long while, the ointment was done, and Tang Wei stood up. Miss, thank you, there isn't much time left, I will go and do my work first. Mu Ran took a look at Tang Wei and said lightly, you can stay by my side for this month. Ah! Tang Wei cried out in surprise, appearing to be a bit panicked. There are some things that cannot be taken the initiative and must wait for Mu Ran to bring it up herself. Tang Wei grasped this point very well. That servant girl was chased away by me, she needs someone to serve her. I'm afraid that I won't be able to do it well. Tang Wei seemed to be lacking in confidence, which suited her character very well. Mu Ran squeezed out a trace of a smile, just slowly learn. Is it really possible? Young miss? Tang Wei asked with a terrified expression. This is really deceiving someone to death. Mu Ran nodded her head. Tang Wei finally revealed a smile. The plan is slowly progressing. Right now, Gouda Principality also released a piece of news, that was Mu Ran being promoted to saintess. At the same time, it also meant that Mu Ran was now a heaven's law doer. However, the matter of marriage was not mentioned. After all, they were still afraid of Tianliang's sect. However, at this moment, Gouda Principality was in an uproar. Heaven's law doer. That is a talent that is hard to come by in 100 years. For such a talent to actually appear in Gouda Principality, that is a blessing. In the future, she will also become an overlord existence. The entire Gouda Principality entered into a festive atmosphere. Right now, in the king's study room, Ding Wenbo had an audience. Your Majesty, the matter of the saintess is very thorny. I think that your Majesty needs to think carefully. Ding Wenbo stood at the side and said respectfully. Feng Yongzhang was currently practicing calligraphy, and asked faintly, how thorny? Your Majesty, Tianliang's sect will definitely not let go of the saintess. After all, a heaven's law doer is hard to come by in 100 years. If your Majesty forcefully arranged this marriage, and the saintess goes back and whispers a few words, I'm afraid that our gains will not make up for our losses. For his own benefits, Ding Wenbo was doing his utmost to harm Mu Ran. Feng Yongzhang stopped the brush in his hand and lightly placed it at the side, then walked to the side and sat down. He blew on the tea and took a sip. Mu Ran is my emperor's law doer. That is also mine. Hearing this, Ding Wenbo was overjoyed. It seemed that the king did not intend to let Mu Ran go, even if it meant obtaining a corpse. How ruthless. Let's see what happens tonight, Feng Yongzhang said softly. He seemed to have rested well and walked to the side to practice his calligraphy again. Ding Bowen bowed and retreated. After watching Ding Wenbo leave, Feng Yongzhang smashed the pen in his hand on the white paper. Mu Ran. Don't force this emperor. Feng Yongzhang muttered in a low voice. In a corner of the palace, the fourth prince, Feng Yun, was sitting on a stone bench, looking at a potted plant in front of him, as if waiting for the flower to bloom. It had to be said that Feng Yun was still handsome and had an imposing appearance. There was a steady aura between his brows, and he was very manly. Congratulations, Your Royal Highness, the fourth prince. A eunuch suddenly ran over and knelt down. "What's there to be happy about?" Feng Yun asked lightly. "Your Highness. The ghost talent, Mu Ran, has been conferred the title of Saintess by His Majesty. Her strength has even reached Heavenly Law Doji, and His Majesty has also expressed his intention to marry the Saintess to your Highness." After hearing this, Feng Yun's expression changed, but it was not a happy expression. It seemed that he was worried about something. "All right, I understand. You can leave first." The eunuch was very confused. Why did His Highness not react to such a joyous event? Could it be that he did not like the Saintess? That shouldn't be the case. It was not that Feng Yun did not like the Saintess, but because he was not a local at all. It had been 18 years since he transmigrated here. This was his biggest secret. He had even obtained a summoning system that could summon virtuous generals. Although he had not summoned one yet, he would be able to do so soon. He did not think that his father would actually want the ghost talent to marry him. This secret could not be kept. It would not be good for that woman to know. After all, he was someone who was going to stir up a storm. How can I stop my footsteps because of a woman? A transmigrator like me will definitely receive the favor of beautiful women. Even if I don't go and look for a beautiful woman, there will still be beautiful women who will throw themselves at me. Just like this Mu Ran, this is a very normal beginning. I should first see if this Mu Ran is worthy of trust or not. After all, I am going to be a man with a very high status in the future. The woman beside me naturally cannot be too weak. However, thinking about it, this Mu Ran is also not a flower vase. I am only a heavenly law dojo with the help of the system, and even without, she still reached heavenly law dojo. From this, it can be seen that she is a very powerful woman. This kind of woman is a little hard to hold on to. If I manage to get my hands on her, she would be a great helper for me. I should first see if she has the qualifications or not. Right now, Wei Chong was naturally very happy. Tang Wei finally managed to sneak in today, and at the same time, he also found out that this Mu Ran is a heavenly law dojo. Chapter 756. Yihua felt that what Qing Yutong said was a bit reasonable. "I will go out for a while first." "So fast. Brother-in-law, why don't you spend more time with Yutong?" Yihua pinched onto Qing Yutong's face. "I will come over to accompany you in the afternoon." N. Brother-in-law, you can go and busy yourself. Yutong will wait for you. Yutong, you're still the most obedient. He, of course, so brother-in-law, you have to treat Yutong well, yes. Yihua nodded his head. After the message was sent to the room, Qing Yutong happily hugged onto the quilt and rolled around on the bed. Being together with brother-in-law is so comfortable. Right now, Yihua was naturally going to look for Kai Yun to understand the situation. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Right now, Kai Yun was the inspector of Voidless Empire. The department he had set up was called South Wuchi, and it was in charge of all matters within the city. Yihua raised his hand and asked, "What about Sky Red?" "Your honor, I'm going out to do my duty." Kai Hong poured a cup of hot tea over, and Yihua took the cup and took a sip. "Kai Yun, how has Red Blue Skies been doing lately?" "Behavior. That's normal, I guess. He likes to wear masks." Yihua said confusedly, "Wearing a mask? What do you mean by normal?" It's just an old habit of mine. I'm afraid of scaring others by wearing a mask." Sure enough, he didn't like looking at any woman. He had a serious desire for revenge. This was a mental illness that needed treatment. If it continued to develop in the long run, something bad would happen. "Kai Yun, do you think Blue Sky Red will accept a new relationship?" After Kai Yun heard this, he pondered for a long time, then said respectfully, "Your honor, I'm afraid it will be very difficult." Sure enough, Kai Yun's thoughts were exactly the same as his main body's. This kind of man who was hurt by love was very hard to cure. Let nature take its course. Yi Hua said faintly. Kai Yun nodded. Right now, Zhang Konghong did not trust women and was traumatized. I'll have Zhang Hong help Wei Chang and the others in a while. Tell him to get ready. Yes. Your Honor. Yi Hua no longer harbored any hope. I'll just have to see how heavens will arrange things for me. It would be good if there was a result, but if there was no result, then forget it. As for this girl named Mu Ran, whether or not she could be used by me would depend on her luck. Night gradually fell in the Gouda Duchy. Tonight was a national celebration. The king had invited his ministers to a banquet in the palace to congratulate Mu Ran on becoming a heavenly law-doer. Instead of saying that it was a blind date, it would be better to let the fourth prince, Feng Yun, and Mu Ran interact a little. As the saintess, Mu Ran sat at the bottom right of Feng Yongzhang. This was a very powerful seat, but Mu Ran didn't feel anything. Everything she did was for the common people. The fourth prince, Feng Yun, was sitting beside Mu Ran. From time to time, he would take a sip of wine while observing Mu Ran from the corner of his eyes. I didn't expect that after not seeing you for 3 years, you'd shed that immature appearance and become more like a woman. Only this kind of appearance is worthy of a transmigrator like me. But if you want to become the first lady, it will depend on your ability to arouse this prince's interest. Mu Ran completely ignored Feng Yun, who was beside her. She didn't like this kind of marriage in the first place, so how could she take the initiative to speak? Everyone knew the purpose of this banquet. When Feng Yongzhang saw the saintess's attitude, he felt a little uncomfortable. This was like a child that he brought up suddenly became successful and didn't put him in his eyes. Mu Ran vividly played the role of a great master, and Feng Yongzhang didn't want Mu Ran to be better than him. Ding Wenbo was very happy to see such a scene. The more the saintess didn't give him face, the angrier his majesty would be. It was normal for him to find someone to assassinate her. Saintess, is this dish not to your taste? Feng Yongzhang asked. She hadn't eaten a bite since she sat down. It was obvious that she was giving him a hard time. Mu Ran smiled, Your Majesty, I've been fasting recently, so I can't enjoy the food Your Majesty has bestowed. When everyone heard the saintess's words, they sighed in their hearts. It was rare to see such an amazing woman. She was smart, and with just one sentence, she made His Majesty lose his temper. Feng Yun, who was sitting next to her, also sighed. As expected of a genius, she had a sharp tongue. Is that so? That's because I didn't think it through. Feng Yongzhang chuckled. Your Majesty is busy every day, it's a blessing for the common people. There was nothing wrong with Mu Ran's reply. If Mu Ran was just an ordinary warrior, perhaps Feng Yongzhang would be happier. The main point was the heavenly Tao. Feng Yongzhang laughed, Yun take the saintess for a walk. Yes. Feng Yun stood up and said respectfully. Mu Ran stood up and followed Feng Yun with graceful steps. Feng Yongzhang looked pensive as he watched the two leave. At this moment, Feng Yun was walking in front, and Mu Ran slowly followed behind. The two of them maintained a distance of 3 meters. The nights in northern Liang were usually cold, and the temperature difference between day and night was very big. However, Mu Ran was still wearing a white dress today, and it looked very light. Feng Yun naturally saw it and thought that Mu Ran wouldn't be stupid enough to wear so little. She was definitely giving him a chance. She was indeed a scheming woman. Was she so eager to climb into his bed? Then let me test her. She would definitely reject me. She must be playing hard to get. Feng Yun stopped and took off the velvet shawl from his shoulders. He said softly, Mu Ran, it's cold at night. Mu Ran said respectfully, Fourth Prince, there is no need. Fourth prince, please take care of yourself and serve His Majesty in the future. What did she say? I knew you would reject me, and then you lured my curiosity out. I've seen too many overbearing presidents. Since you don't want it, this prince will wear it myself. Mu Ran didn't say anything and continued to follow behind Feng Yun. Mu Ran, what do you think about the marriage? Feng Yun couldn't help but ask. He had lost to this woman in terms of patience. Mu Ran said softly, it's all up to you. Feng Yun sneered in his heart. In the future, he would definitely become the king and sweep through northern Liang. He would even sweep through Tianliang's sect and a larger territory. You little girl, you are still playing dumb with this prince. Could it be that if imperial father were to marry a beggar on the street, would you agree? If necessary, Mu Ran said softly. Her face didn't change at all. Pretentious. This was a woman who liked to be pretentious. She was a scheming bitch. If she knew his secret, she would shamelessly threaten him. Fortunately, he was smart. Let me send you back. There is no need to trouble your Royal Highness. I can go back by myself. Hee, all right then. Be careful on the road. Mu Ran watched as Feng Yun left. His last sentence obviously had a different meaning. Was he threatening me? Or was he trying to express something else? Was it the king? Mu Ran took a deep breath. She felt that she couldn't breathe here. Mississippi, Tang Wei was waiting outside the palace. When she saw Mu Ran coming out, she took out a velvet shawl and draped it over Mu Ran. Chapter 757. Miss, what are you talking about? It is my duty to serve you. Tang Wei set up the stool. Mu Ran stepped on the stool and boarded the carriage. Tang Wei followed closely behind. Sitting in the carriage, Tang Wei curiously asked, Miss, you are now under one person and above tens of thousands of people. Why are you still frowning? Fame is just a worldly possession. There are many things that you can't do anything about. Mu Ran sighed. Compared to this place, Tianliang's sect seemed to be better. Miss, what you said is too profound. I don't understand. Tang Wei expressed that she was new and cute and had a confused expression on her face. Mu Ran chuckled and said, You'll understand later. Tang Wei nodded and walked back without saying a word. Half a month's time passed in the blink of an eye. Tang Wei and Mu Ran had also gradually become familiar with each other. This was good news. Song Konghong had also quietly entered the city and was waiting for orders. However, Song Konghong was completely unaware of her true mission. Ever since the last time when Mu Ran went to the Imperial Palace, she had not gone back to the Imperial Palace for half a month. Everything seemed to have returned back to normal, but Mu Ran didn't think so. Everything was too peaceful. At the Mu family, Tang Wei was currently grinding ink for Mu Ran. She said softly, Miss, I recently have a cousin who also entered the city. N. Mu Ran slightly raised his head, seemingly thinking that Tang Wei wanted him to help her cousin. That cousin of mine wants me to go back with him. Tang Wei paused for a moment, seemingly unwilling to part with Tang Wei. What a woman who knows how to act. Go back. Lingtai Nation. Mu Ran asked curiously. Tang Wei nodded her head. My cousin told me that Lingtai Kingdom has changed completely. A new emperor has appeared, and the people there are living very well. Their safety is guaranteed, and they have ample food and clothing. How is this possible? How could the Lingtai Kingdom survive without the protection of the Gouda Principality? Mu Ran exclaimed in disbelief. Tang Wei was also puzzled. Yeah, when my husband and I came out, that place was already on the verge of destruction. This time, my cousin said that that place is completely new. Where is your cousin now? Mu Ran felt that it was necessary to ask about the situation. After all, she had a deep memory of the Lingtai Kingdom, and she wanted to know what had happened there. At an inn in the east of the city. Take me to see him. Mu Ran stood up, seemingly in a hurry. Seeing Mu Ran's expression, Tang Wei felt relieved. After arranging the carriage, Tang Wei brought Mu Ran to the east side of the city. Blue Sky Hong was already in position. After quite a while, the carriage stopped at the side of an ordinary inn. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran down from the carriage and said lightly, "Miss, that cousin of mine is a mute, and his appearance is a bit, so he is wearing a mask." "It's okay," Mu Ran said softly. She didn't care about these things. Tang Wei was delighted in her heart. It seemed like Mu Ran was not obsessed with appearance. This was a good thing. The two of them walked into an ordinary inn, and when everyone saw Mu Ran, the holy maiden, they all knelt on the ground and showed expressions of worship. On the second floor, Tang Wei pushed open a door. "Miss, it's here." Mu Ran nodded her head and walked into the room. The room was very ordinary. There was only a bed, a table, and also 4 old wooden stools. At this moment, Tsang Kong Hong was standing on the balcony outside. His tall and broad body had his back facing the two of them as he looked in the direction of the voidless empire, giving off the feeling that he was missing someone. From this back view, it could be seen that this was a man with a story. Mu Ran paused for a moment. This is Tang Wei's cousin. Why does he look so different? The aura that this back view is giving off feels even fiercer than master. Tsang Kong Hong, who was currently missing someone, didn't seem to have noticed that the two of them had entered the room, and he acted just like how he usually acted. However, even if he acted just like how he usually acted, ordinary people wouldn't be able to accept it, even the current Mu Ran. Tang Wei scolded inwardly. If Tsang Kong Hong was acting cool, it would be understandable. After all, this back view of Tsang Kong Hong is indeed very charming. However, this Tsang Kong Hong is missing Yu Hua. To not even notice that the two of us have entered the room, his acting skills aren't up to standard at all. Tsang Kong Hong didn't know how to act in the first place. Cough, cough, cough. Tang Wei coughed lightly. Tsang Kong Hong finally came back to his senses. A few days ago, he received his honor's order to come over and take charge of protecting a person. Furthermore, he had to listen to Wei Chang's arrangements. And the person that he was protecting was about to meet with him today. Tsang Kong Hong turned around, and a very ordinary iron mask could be seen on his face. The iron mask gave off a very heavy feeling. Ignoring the iron mask, it was a very masculine figure. Tsang Kong Hong's clothes weren't that strict, and his chest was completely exposed. His muscles that looked like they were sculpted by a ghost axe were filled with explosive strength. Every single muscle was so well proportioned, and that bronze-colored skin of his gave off an even more masculine charm. This caused Mu Ran to feel a bit embarrassed. After all, no one would dress like this, wrapping themselves up tightly. Furthermore, this person's overall temperament is very strange. Is this person really Tang Wei's cousin? Young miss, because this cousin of mine doesn't know how to speak, and because he doesn't look good, his personality is a bit unsociable. Tang Wei hurriedly explained. Hearing Tang Wei's explanation, Mu Ran felt slightly relieved. Mu Ran was able to understand why a person like Tsang Kong Hong would act so indifferently towards others in order to protect himself. Tsang Kong Hong also saw the person that he was protecting, but he didn't say anything. In Tsang Kong Hong's eyes, Mu Ran was no different from a pink skeleton. Furthermore, Mu Ran's height was only 1.62 meters, while Tsang Kong Hong was 2 meters tall. This was simply the cutest height difference. Very quickly, Mu Ran calmed down. Tang Wei, I want to ask your cousin about the matters regarding Lingtai Kingdom. All right. Tang Wei nodded her head, then said to Tsang Kong Hong, Tsang Kong Hong, this is young miss, she wants to ask you about the matters regarding Lingtai Kingdom. Tsang Kong Hong nodded her head, then picked up a pen and paper and started writing according to Wei Chang's script. Mu Ran quietly waited for Tsang Kong Hong to write, appearing to be very patient. After Tsang Kong Hong finished writing, Tsang Kong Hong passed the paper to Mu Ran. After Mu Ran saw the contents of the paper, her beautiful eyes froze. Right now, Lingtai Kingdom can no longer be called Lingtai Kingdom, it has been renamed to Wushu Kingdom. To actually change its name to Kingdom, isn't this challenging the authority of Gouda Principality? Mu Ran looked at Tsang Kong Hong and asked, "What is the current situation regarding Wushu Kingdom?" Tsang Kong Hong continued writing. After Tsang Kong Hong finished writing, Mu Ran's brows tightly knitted together. The kingdom is prosperous and the people are at peace, and the kingdom has even expanded its borders. Isn't this, are they courting death? If His Majesty were to hear about this matter, something bad would definitely happen. Just what kind of people are controlling Lingtai Kingdom right now? Mu Ran felt that she had to go back and properly ponder over this matter. Tang Wei, you can't be thinking of going back right now, right? Tang Wei looked at Tsang Kong Hong. Mu Ran seemed to have understood what Tang Wei meant. How about this, you let cousin come to the residence and work together with Wei Chang, what do you think? Chapter 758. Why are you standing there like a fool? Hurry up and thank Mississippi, as the saying goes, acting must be done properly. Tsang Kong Hong nodded her head, expressing her gratitude. However, Mu Ran still had a lot of things that she needed to understand, so she kept asking Tsang Kong Hong questions along the way, inquiring about the current situation of Wushu Empire. Just after returning to the Mu residence, Mu Ran looked towards a stranger. If she remembered correctly, he should be the royal family that escaped from Lingtai Kingdom. Xia Yu. Xia Yu seemed to be discussing something with her father. Mu Ran let Tang Wei bring Tsang Kong Hong to rest first, then walked into the hall. Father. Mu Ran greeted respectfully. Xia Yu, who was sitting at the side, directly kneeled down and shouted with a pleading tone, "Saintess, Lingtai Kingdom still needs you." Mu Ran immediately took a look at her father. Mu Ongwa didn't say anything. "Stand up and talk," Mu Ran said gently. "Thank you, Saintess." Xia Yu stood up and said with a pitiful look, "Saintess, I wonder if you have heard of Wushu Empire, the previous Lingtai Kingdom." Wushu Empire. Mu Ran acted as if she had just heard about it, wanting to see what Xia Yu wanted to say. "Saintess, I hope that Saintess can help us. Right now, a group of people is occupying Lingtai Kingdom and even changed the name of the kingdom to an empire. This is clearly disrespecting His Majesty." Mu Ran finally understood. This Xia Yu saw that Lingtai Kingdom was revived and wanted to snatch it back. He is truly a man who knows how to sail with the wind. Back then, when Lingtai Kingdom was threatened, why didn't you act like this? You even escaped. How did you know about this? Mu Ran asked curiously. Xia Yu said respectfully, "This news has been spreading on the streets for a few days, Saintess naturally wouldn't know about it." Mu Ran looked towards her father. Why didn't he tell me about this? Mu Ongwa was afraid that his daughter would offend His Majesty for Lingtai Kingdom, causing His Majesty to ignore him. Xia Yu, don't worry, I will report this matter to His Majesty. Thank you so much. Xia Yu hurriedly kneeled down, truly sincere. Hearing Mu Ongwa's reply, Xia Yu felt relieved and left for the time being. "Father, why are you helping him?" Mu Ran asked curiously. Her father's actions were very strange. Father isn't helping him, I'm helping you." "Help me?" Mu Ran was confused. Mu Ongwa nodded. "His Majesty's attitude towards you is getting worse. You need a beautiful battle to win back His Majesty's trust." "Father, you want me to bring troops to attack Voidless Empire?" Mu Ran was startled for a moment. Her father's idea was truly terrifying. Mu Ongwa didn't deny it. "Mu Ran, I know that you often defended Lingtai country in the past, but you have to know that Lingtai country has now become Voidless Empire. Even if you don't go, His Majesty will still send someone else. Do you understand? This is an unavoidable battle. Muran didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. What should she do? If the two sides really fought, the ones who would die would be the commoners. Muran didn't say anything. I feel that my father has changed a bit. In the past, my father had always supported me, but now, my father actually wants me to lead the army to attack an affiliated country. No, it was invasion, because the Gouda Principality had long expelled the Lingtai Principality from being a vassal state. If that was the case, there was no reason for the Gouda Principality to send troops. The one who spread the news was naturally Wei Chang. After all, it was about time for the Gouda Principality to act, and it would be up to how the Holy Maiden would act. His Honor was waiting to see how the Holy Maiden would act as a test to enter the team. For the entire afternoon, Tang Wei accompanied Muran. Putting aside the fact that Muran was lying, Tang Wei felt that Muran was a good girl, just that, Muran was too worried. Muran had always been thinking about problems from other people's point of view, abandoning her own point of view. If this goes on, Muran will definitely hurt herself. Young miss, you should eat something, you didn't even eat lunch. Tang Wei said in a low voice. I can't eat. Muran said faintly. I want to go and see what exactly happened to Lingtai country, what kind of huge change happened to Lingtai country, and whether or not the rumors are true. Tang Wei discovered that when she was already so old, she was still concerned about the affairs of the country. The curtain of night gradually descended, and Muangwa could be seen shouting from outside, Ran, His Majesty is holding an emergency meeting. Muran opened her beautiful eyes. Seems like His Majesty is going to make a move. Father, I understand. After changing their clothes, Tang Wei accompanied Muran and walked out of the house. Just when they walked out of the house, Muran saw Tsang Konghong who was leading a horse. Young miss, most of the things in the residence have already been taken care of, so I asked him to come over and be a coachman. Tang Wei explained. That's fine too. Young miss, you can be at ease, this cousin of mine has also cultivated before, and he is even a doer. Tang Wei said with a smile. No wonder, so he is a doer. Get on the carriage first. All right, young miss. Very soon, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the imperial palace. The father and daughter got off the carriage and walked into the imperial palace. Tang Wei and Tsang Konghong were waiting outside. I wonder what will be the result of their discussion today. Will they directly start the war? Will the one leading the army be Muran? Right now, Tang Wei was a bit worried about Muran. If Muran really went to the imperial palace, other than her, everyone else would have died in that snowfield. Will Muran be able to accept such a blow? Looking at that petite back view of Muran, the burden on her shoulders is too much. Girls at this age should just talk about love and enjoy the care and concern of their boyfriends, but for me, different times create different people. The father and daughter walked into the palace, and on the way, they did not speak a single word. From the looks of it, they had a disagreement. Following Feng Yongzhang's arrival, everyone kneeled down and shouted, "Long live your majesty. My beloved subjects, please rise." Feng Yongzhang said gravely. Thank you, your majesty. The reason why I called all of you here tonight is because my spies have already verified the rumors. Speaking up to here, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. Wushu Empire does indeed exist. Hearing what His Majesty said, everyone's expression sunk. This is a provocation. To actually establish an empire. Feng Yongzhang slammed onto the armrest of his throne. This Wushu Empire sure has guts. To actually establish an empire without my consent. Do they even put me in their eyes? Ding Bowen cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty. Wushu Empire is going against their superior. As long as the saintess is willing to lead the army to the imperial palace, we will definitely take back the lost land. So despicable. 3 years ago, they already abolished Lingtai Kingdom's status as a subsidiary kingdom, and now, they are saying that Lingtai Kingdom lost land. They are too shameless. At the very least, Mu Ran thought so too. Feng Yongzhang waved his hand, and the head eunuch who was at the side shouted out, "Xia Yu has an audience." Xia Yu could be seen walking into the palace while trembling with fear, then shouted out respectfully, "Long live your majesty. Let me ask you, is Xia family the royal family of Lingtai Kingdom?" Replying to your majesty, yes. Chapter 759. One needed a reason to start a war, and Xia Yu was the best reason. He was the legitimate royal family of Lingtai Kingdom, and right now, he was helping Xia Yu to recover Lingtai Kingdom and kill the traitor. Of course, there was another reason. Saintess, I order you to lead 100,000 elite soldiers to recover Lingtai Kingdom. In the past, the order that Mu Ran received was to resist the invasion of other kingdoms, and that was her duty, but today, she was going to invade another kingdom. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Your Majesty, Lingtai Kingdom was no longer a subsidiary kingdom of Guda Principality 3 years ago, so this is not recovering, this is an invasion." Hearing what Mu Ran said, everyone's expression changed. Saintess is openly offending His Majesty. This is a huge crime. Mu Angwa's face was also deathly pale, as expected. "My daughter still said it." Ding Wenbo grabbed onto the opportunity and shouted out angrily, "Saintess! You dare to refuse His Majesty's order. And you are even disrespecting His Majesty." Feng Yongzhang's face was gloomy, but he was already furious in his heart. Mu Ran's position in his heart had long changed, starting from Tiandao Duer, he no longer trusted her. "I don't dare. Your Majesty, the situation is unclear right now. I hope that Your Majesty will allow me to go and negotiate by myself." Mu Ran's words caused everyone in the palace to start discussing amongst themselves. It was very easy for something to happen if she went to negotiate by herself, and she might even lose her life. This saintess is too daring. Mu Ran just wanted to go and see if Wushu Kingdom was good or bad, and if the commoners there had any complaints. If Wushu Kingdom was ruthless, Mu Ran would have immediately led the army to attack, but if Wushu Kingdom was thriving, and the commoners were living in peace and contentment, then why did they have to start a war? After all, Guda Principality no longer cared about Lingtai Kingdom 3 years ago, and there was no need for them to interfere now. Xia Yu, who was kneeling on the ground, cursed inwardly. "His Majesty already said to let you lead the army. And you are actually disobeying the order and want to go alone." Feng Yongzhang pondered for a while, then said faintly, "Saintess, have you made up your mind?" "Your Majesty, I have made up my mind. I hope that Your Majesty will allow me to do so." Mu Ran knelt on the ground and said respectfully, "All right. I will order you to negotiate with Wushu Kingdom. Let's wait for the saintess to come back, then we can discuss it." Feng Yongzhang's eyes were deep, as if he didn't want Mu Ran to come back. This was the best result. If I can't obtain Tiandao Duer, then no one else can. Long live Your Majesty. As Feng Yongzhang left, everyone looked at Mu Ran in a different light. If Mu Ran had agreed to lead the army to attack and return triumphantly, His Majesty would have been very pleased. However, she chose to offend His Majesty and go alone. That was a narrow escape from death. He really didn't know what this saintess was thinking. Mu Angwa walked forward and helped his daughter up. "Silly child, why didn't you agree to His Majesty?" "Father, I thought you understood me," Mu Ran said softly. This caused Mu Angwa to pause. His expression changed a bit. "In the past, I and my daughter always had the same thoughts, and would often discuss ways to solve the problem, but now, in order to let my daughter please His Majesty, the way I think about it has already changed." Looking at his daughter's lonely figure, Mu Angwa took a deep breath and followed. At this moment, Tang Wei was waiting anxiously. Song Kong Hong was leading his horse and looking up at the sky, seemingly thinking of a certain someone. Looking at the people walking out one after another, Tang Wei discovered that their faces were either smiling or gloomy. She didn't know what was going on. After waiting for a long time, he finally saw Mu Ran's figure. Mississippi, Tang Wei hurriedly walked up to Mu Ran. She even felt a little sorry for this little sister Mu Ran. Tang Wei, let's go home first. Tang Wei discovered that Mu Ran seemed to be very tired, even her tone was filled with tiredness. After Muangwa arrived, the three got onto the carriage, and Song Kong Hong became the coachman. Inside the carriage, Muangwa looked at his daughter and said lightly, "I will go and beg His Majesty tomorrow." "Father, there's no need for that, I will set off for Wushu Empire tomorrow," Mu Ran said faintly. Tang Wei revealed a surprised expression. Mu Ran is going to Wushu Empire. Judging from her tone, it seems like she is going to be going alone. My God! Mu Ran's courage is so big. Right now, Tang Wei truly admired Mu Ran. Girls like Mu Ran are truly rare. Just that, according to his honor's plan, Mu Ran should be leading an army to Wushu Empire, and shouldn't be going alone. This is a bit troublesome, Ran, if you go. Muangwa knew the consequences. If I go, I might not be able to see my daughter again. Father, don't tell mother about this matter, in case she gets worried. You can be at ease, I will be fine. No matter what, I am still a heaven's laws doer. It won't be that easy for something to happen to me. Mu Ran appeared to be very confident, but this was all for her father to see. I don't even know what is going on in Wushu Empire. This is no different from sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Right after Mu Ran finished speaking, the horse actually let out a neighing sound. Mu Ran's beautiful eyes became serious. Father, Tang Wei, you two don't go out. After finished speaking, Mu Ran walked out of the carriage, and 10 black-clothed men could be seen in the surroundings. Each of the men was holding onto a shiny blade. They were emitting out ice-cold killing intent. Song Kong Hong stood beside the carriage and observed the situation indifferently. Doer sure. Mu Ran said gravely. I have a bad feeling about this. Doer sure is a high and mighty existence, how did they end up becoming assassins? One of the black-clothed men could be heard laughing, as expected of the heavens laws Saint Doer, to be able to see through our strength with a single look. Who sent you here? Mu Ran asked coldly, although she didn't have much hope. So what if we know, so what if we don't know? That is no longer important. Kill. The black man shouted out coldly, and the black man immediately erupted with ferocious doer chi and attacked Mu Ran. Their target was very clear, and there was no hesitation at all. Meanwhile, Mu Ran's gaze darkened, and a green longsword condensed in her hand. Tang Wei, who was sitting inside the carriage, was a bit nervous. She wasn't nervous about herself, she was nervous about Mu Ran. With Song Kong Hong protecting her from outside, there shouldn't be any problem. However, Song Kong Hong currently has the strength of a doer sure. If she were to display her strength, it would be very easy for her to be discovered. Muangwa was very worried about his daughter, and he clenched his fists tightly. Song Kong Hong, protect the carriage properly. Leave this place to me. Mu Ran shouted towards Song Kong Hong, and the green longsword in her hand drew out many ripples. As expected of a heaven's law Saint Doer, she indeed has the strength to fight against a doer-sure. However, there were 10 doer-sure present, no matter how powerful Mu Ran was, she would still be killed. Lightly dancing snow. Mu Ran shouted out, and her entire body became like an illusion. However, this kind of illusion appeared to be in a slow state. This caused the expressions of the 10 doer-sure to sink, and they thought to themselves, Heaven's law Saint Doer is indeed powerful. Their guess was right. Mu Ran, who was in a slow state, suddenly became faster, and the sword in her hand directly cut open the throat of a doer-sure. Mu Ran's breathing was a bit hurried. This move consumed too much of her doer chi, but in the end, she still managed to kill a doer shi. Just when Mu Ran was relaxing, a killing intent suddenly came from behind her, and the moonlight shone on the blade, and silver light flickered. Chapter 760. However, at the same time, all of Mu Ran's escape routes were blocked by the 8 battle masters. Mu Ran could dodge this attack by force. But how was she going to dodge the other 8 attacks? These 10 people set up an inescapable net by sacrificing a battle master. Tonight, the fall of a young Heaven's Law dojo, and her Heaven's Law dojo would become someone else's tool. At this moment, Mu Ran also felt a bone-chilling coldness. I fell into their trap. I shouldn't have exploded my dochi just now. But now, I am actually in such a passive position. What should I do? I can only resist. I have no other ideas. Just when Mu Ran was planning to risk her life, a huge figure appeared in front of her. That tall and straight figure blocked the moonlight. Mu Ran slightly raised her head and looked at the black figure. It was Tsang Konghong, who was wearing an iron mask. This beautiful scene suddenly appeared. Mu Ran's gaze carried a sense of loss as he looked at Tsang Hong. Tsang Hong's enormous body was like a large mountain that covered Mu Ran's front, appearing to be the toughest shield. In the air, 9 doshir's hands were holding blades as they hacked at Mu Ran. The silver-colored blade glows were filled with terrifying do chi. Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, saw this scene. Because she was hesitating to act just now, she felt relieved when she saw Tsang Konghong. Originally, she was worried that they wouldn't be able to cross paths, but now, it seems like they are destined to be together. Tsang Konghong's current mood was very complicated. If I can poke them to death with just a finger. But Wei Chang said that I am currently in the realm of a battle master. If I poke them to death with just a finger, wouldn't I be exposed? This is his honor's plan, I can't expose it. This little thing is too weak, so I can only. Tsang Konghong had no choice but to pull Mu Ran, who was in a daze, over to him. His enormous body enveloped Mu Ran under his chest. Boom! All 9 blades landed on Tsang Konghong's back. In order to achieve the effect of a battle master, Tsang Konghong lowered his own defense to the lowest level. If not, they wouldn't even be able to cut his skin. Immediately, a wave of do chi swept out and spread out. The petite Mu Ran seemed to be able to feel the violent impact and could even hear the sound of flesh being cut open. Mu Ran also knew that this wasn't the time to be touched. Her petite body immediately moved away from Tsang Konghong and brandished the green long sword in her hand crazily. The 2 dumbfounded do shi were instantly killed. Why were they dumbfounded? Because they just witnessed an inconceivable scene. When the blade chopped the man's back, sparks actually appeared. Although it was only for a moment, it was still shocking. What was this person's skin made of? Under the full force attack of a do shi, sparks had actually appeared. Although his skin and flesh were still cut open in the end, the sparks were definitely not an illusion. Retreat! The leading do shi gave the order without hesitation. His intuition told him that this man was very terrifying, and the assassination attempt tonight could not continue. The remaining 7 do shis immediately disappeared into the dark night sky. Tsang Konghong also let out a breath of relief. According to the extent of my injuries, I shouldn't be able to stand up, so, blue sky red collapsed. Tang Wei also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, if those people didn't leave, it would be a troublesome matter. I reckon that Uncle Wei will have to send some kind-hearted black-clothed men away. A series of footsteps came from afar, and the defense army finally appeared. Saintess, please forgive us. The leader shouted out while trembling with fear. Mu Ran knitted her brows and raised her hand. With her petite body, Mu Ran actually carried Blue Sky Red on her back. Blue Sky Red's back that was dripping with blood was a ghastly sight. After placing the unconscious Blue Sky Red on the horse, Mu Ran drove the carriage and quickly returned home. Ran, are you all right? Muangwa, who was in the carriage, asked. I'm fine. Mu Ran said gravely and looked at the reckless Blue Sky Red beside her. It's good that you are fine. Muangwa let out a breath of relief. As long as my daughter is fine, I don't care about a coachman like Blue Sky Red. If she really died, I will definitely give her a sum of money. However, to Mu Ran, Blue Sky Red was her savior. If it wasn't for Blue Sky Red stopping her just now, it would probably be impossible for me to be sitting here and talking. After arriving at the Mu residence, Mu Ran directly jumped off the carriage and carried Blue Sky Red's huge body and ran into the Mu residence, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Tang Wei immediately followed after Blue Sky Red, and a smile appeared on her face. I hope that this is a new beginning. Right now, Blue Sky Red, who was pretending to be dead, was also a bit annoyed. This little guy is actually carrying me and running. This is making me feel very uncomfortable. The mission that His Honor gave me is too difficult. Mu Ran arrived at her own bedroom and directly placed Blue Sky Red on her bed. Mu Ran didn't show any disdain towards Blue Sky Red at all. Tang Wei, quickly bring over my medicine chest. Mu Ran hurriedly shouted. Tang Wei cooperated with Mu Ran and asked worriedly, Miss, is my cousin all right? I don't know. Mu Ran looked at Blue Sky Red's badly mutilated back and was a bit puzzled. Under the full strength of 9 dosha, is it only badly mutilated? Tang Wei saw through Mu Ran's puzzled expression and said, Miss, this cousin of mine has a tough body since young. He shouldn't die, right? Don't worry, I will do my best. Mu Ran hurriedly smeared medicine on Blue Sky Red's back and took out an exquisite bottle. Within the bottle, there was a pill. This pill was the life-saving pill that her master gave her. Mu Ran seemed to want to take off Blue Sky Red's mask, while Tang Wei shouted, Mississippi, I will feed him the medicine. Mu Ran said in a low voice, then took off Blue Sky Red's iron mask. And when Tang Wei saw that Blue Sky Red's fists were tightly clenched, she feared that Blue Sky Red would smash Mu Ran's head with a single punch. Speaking of which, Blue Sky Red was thinking this way in her heart. This woman actually dared to take off my iron mask without my permission. I really want to strangle her neck. And when Mu Ran saw Blue Sky Red's face, she went into a slight daze for a moment, then fed the pill that was in her hand into Blue Sky Red's mouth. Tang Wei, who was at the side, closely observed Mu Ran's expression. She discovered that Mu Ran was only slightly surprised for a moment, then her expression became normal, and Mu Ran's gaze was filled with concern. Rest assured, seems like this Mu Ran isn't someone who only cares about looks. Mu Ran immediately inspected Blue Sky Red's body, and discovered that Blue Sky Red's breathing is very smooth. Is the effect of the medicine that good? It feels like it is just a normal flesh wound. There's no choice, Blue Sky Red can only act like this. Am I going to be chopped into pieces? It should be fine, your cousin's body is very tough, he can block the attack of 9 dosha. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei felt that Mu Ran was a little suspicious. This is not a good thing. Miss, my cousin was born like this isn't an illness, right? Tang Wei's acting skills are still up to standard. If she let Wei Chang cooperate now, it is possible that she will be exposed. Chapter 761. Tang Wei was delighted, that would be my cousin's fortune. Right now, Zhang Konghong didn't even know what she should say anymore. Just how long is he going to protect me? Mu Ran did not say anything. She sat by the bed and observed Cerulean Red's condition. After a long time, she found that her condition had stabilized. Tang Wei, go back and rest first. Mu Ran said softly. Miss, let me go with you. It's fine. I'll just watch over here. Mu Ran felt that the other party was doing this to save her, so it was normal for him to take care of her. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't be a third wheel, and, Miss, you should rest early too. Mu Ran nodded. Tang Wei walked out of the room and gently closed the door. If Firmament Hong was as good at flirting as Lai Gu, this Mu Ran would definitely not be able to escape from him. It was a pity that Song Kong Hong did not know how to speak at all. He was the kind of person who did not know how to flirt and could even kill a conversation. He didn't know if Mu Ran would like sky red. In the room, Mu Ran sat by the bed and observed from time to time. This wasn't love, it was a kind of gratitude. Although it was not to the extent of liking him, Mu Ran at least had a good impression of Blue Sky Hong. From a stranger to her savior, this was already a huge leap. Song Kong Hong didn't want to lie down. She didn't even want a little girl to take care of her. She felt embarrassed. However, he had no choice but to do so, and this little girl would observe him from time to time, making him even more depressed. At this moment, Mu Ran was thinking about who had sent these people. To be able to call out 10 spirit masters, they were definitely not ordinary people. The fourth prince. I don't seem to have any conflicts with him. Your Majesty. He had just walked out of the palace gates when he was attacked. This was a little illogical. Furthermore, he was going to Voidless Empire, and it was uncertain whether he would be able to return alive. His Majesty's actions were completely unnecessary. Perhaps it was because he was a heavenly law doge, and assassins from the other two countries were more likely. It seemed like he had to conceal his identity as a heavenly law doge from the very beginning. He did not expect that it would not only attract the suspicion of His Majesty, but also attract the suspicion of others. If a Grand Doge came tonight, something bad would happen. Fortunately, it's all thanks to him. Mu Ran took a look at Song Kong Hong, who was on the bed, then lightly leaned onto the side of the bed and closed her beautiful eyes. My heart is tired. Song Kong Hong, who was lying on the bed, did not dare to move at all, as if she was afraid that she would be discovered. The next morning, Mu Ran abruptly opened her beautiful eyes and discovered that it was already morning. She then looked at Sky Hong, who was lying on the bed, and observed her. Sky Hong was recovering very well. With a sigh of relief, Mu Ran stood up and prepared to wash her face. A sound came from the bed. Mu Ran turned around and saw Song Kong Hong sitting up and putting on the iron mask again. You can't get out of bed yet. You need to rest. Mu Ran hurriedly walked over to persuade him. Song Kong Hong had had enough last night. She really didn't sleep the whole night and was very careful. Shaking her head, Song Kong Hong ignored Mu Ran's advice and walked out of the room. Mu Ran lightly sighed. Tang Wei's cousin's personality was indeed very eccentric, but his recovery ability was too strong. Or could it be that the medicinal pellet given by teacher was more powerful? Miss? At this time, Tang Wei came over with water and asked curiously. Your cousin seems to be almost recovered. Mu Ran still chose to believe in the power of the pill. That's great, I thank you on behalf of my cousin. No need, it was your cousin who saved me. I should be the one thanking you. Mu Ran said with a smile. After washing her face, Mu Ran said indifferently, Tang Wei, help me pack up my baggage. Miss, are you going now? Tang Wei hurriedly asked. Tang Wei, you and your husband should live a good life here. Mu Ran planned to go alone. After all, this time, it was normal for her to die. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't stay here. Miss, I'll go with you. Tang Wei, there's no need. It's very dangerous for me to go this time. Miss, I'm not afraid of danger. Mu Ran chuckled. Tang Wei, there's really no need. Miss, if you go alone, what will happen if there's no one to take care of you? Furthermore, I'm very familiar with that place. Furthermore, my cousin called us back. I also want to go and take a look. This is also on the way. Tang Wei forcefully explained. Mu Ran pondered for a moment before saying, after entering the city, don't follow me. It's very dangerous. Tang Wei happily agreed. Then go and prepare. We'll leave immediately. All right. Very few people knew that Mu Ran was going to Voidless Empire. In fact, only Mu Ongwa went out to send her off. Her mother and little brother didn't know. Even when Mu Ran, the Holy Maiden, left the city gates, no one came to send her off. As for the assassin from last night, there was no follow-up explanation either. Mu Ran was a little disappointed. However, what she cared about was the commoners. Everything else could be ignored. In the back garden of the palace, King Feng Yongzhang was currently admiring flowers with Ding Wenbo following behind him. A young eunuch stood respectfully beside Feng Yongzhang and whispered a few words. Your Majesty, I presume that the Holy Maiden has already left the city. Ding Wenbo said respectfully. Feng Yongzhang held onto a pair of scissors and slowly trimmed the flowers. Who sent the assassin yesterday? It has been confirmed, it's Xuanzhong Kingdom. That old fart. He even wanted to assassinate my Holy Maiden and frame me. He deserves death. Feng Yongzhang ruthlessly threw the pair of scissors onto the ground. The palace maids and the surroundings all knelt down. If Mu Ran had died in Gouda Principality yesterday, Tianliang's sect definitely wouldn't let the matter rest. They might even vent their anger on Gouda Principality, and the consequences would be rather severe. Your Majesty, please quell your anger. Fortunately, the Holy Maiden is fine. Ding Wenbo said softly. His words were naturally meant for the palace maids and the surroundings to hear. The heavens bless the Holy Maiden's triumphant return. If the Holy Maiden doesn't return after a long time, I will destroy this Wushu Empire. How could Feng Yongzhang not know this? He only hoped that the Holy Maiden would remain in Wushu Empire forever. At that time, he wouldn't even need to make a move, as Tianliang's sect would destroy Wushu Empire. Long live your Majesty! Ding Wenbo shouted loudly. The palace maids and the surroundings also shouted in unison. Being in such a position, everyone had to wear a mask and act. On the other side, Wei Chang and Song Konghong sat outside the carriage, while Mu Ran and Tang Wei sat inside. The four of them headed towards Wushu Empire. According to the speed of the carriage, they might need half a month's time to reach Wushu Empire. Wei Chang also intentionally slowed down the speed of the carriage. As for why, it was naturally to create an opportunity. But looking at Song Konghong's current state, he doesn't even know how to create an opportunity. He is simply a blockhead. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you. Which woman would like you? Chapter 762. Wasn't Tang Wei captured by me when I was chasing after her? If you want to chase after a girl, then you must be thick-skinned. If your skin is thin, then you should be single for life. It is impossible for you to wait for a girl to chase after you. Is your injury better? Mu Ran suddenly lifted the curtain and asked with concern. Song Konghong remained silent and nodded his head. He seemed to be very aloof. This wasn't because Song Kong was wearing red clothes. It was because of her personality that Yu Hua didn't like her. After all, every woman wanted to be cared for. Lai Gu expressed his concern, while Song Konghong only kept his concern in his heart and never expressed it out. Mu Ran didn't ask any more questions and returned to the carriage. Wei Chang shouted, "Idiot! This Mu Ran looks pretty good. Although her strength is not that high, she is definitely a good girl. She is definitely a good match for a fool like you." Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, was also crying out at how stupid Yu Hua was. When a girl takes the initiative to show concern for you, you should at least show some gratitude. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you, you deserve it. Mu Ran didn't show any signs of disappointment. She just sat there quietly, thinking about the problem. Seeing that Mu Ran did not have any disappointed reaction, Tang Wei was a little anxious. It seemed that Mu Ran only treated Sky Red as her savior and did not have any other thoughts. Sigh, he felt that it was hopeless. The carriage slowly drove on the road, and Wei Chang reported the situation here to his honor. When Yi Hua heard Wei Chang's report, he was very happy and praised Wei Chang. A war is definitely going to start soon, and it is time for Wushu Empire to shock Northern Liang Empire. This was just a small step for the main body. The path of revenge had just begun. Meanwhile, Yi Hua also inquired about Blue Sky Red situation to see if there was any progress. When he heard Wei Chang say that Song Kong Hong was injured in order to save Mu Ran last night, this caused Yi Hua to feel a little gratified. At least, this Song Hong isn't a fool. However, in the next moment, Yi Hua dispelled the thought that he had just had. Yi Hua felt that it was normal for Yi Hua to not like Song Kong Hong. With a personality like Song Kong Hong's, it would be impossible for him to obtain a girl's favor. However, Yi Hua was a bit looking forward to meeting that Mu Ran soon. I want to see just how capable this Mu Ran is, to be able to be hyped up by Wei Chang's words. On the first night, the carriage stopped by the river. Song Kong Hong caught a fish and Wei Chang started a fire to roast it. The four of them acted as if they were on vacation, and Tang Wei acted as if she was taking care of her little sister, causing Mu Ran to feel very grateful towards Tang Wei. She felt that Tang Wei was like her big sister and had a very good impression of her. However, if Mu Ran found out that the three of them were actually liars, who knew what she would do? In fact, all of the scams revolved around Mu Ran. The intelligent Mu Ran actually did not realize it. Perhaps it was because Tang Wei was too meticulous, causing Mu Ran to lower her guard. Of course, there was also Blue Sky Hong who risked her life to save Mu Ran. Being deceived by the enemy could only be said to be a lesson, but being deceived by someone he trusted was a blow. Actually, it was a good thing that Song Kong Hong did not have any interaction with Mu Ran. Once he did, Mu Ran would discover that everything was fake, and that would be even worse. After eating the grilled fish, Wei Chang and Song Kong Hong stood guard outside. Right now, Mu Ran was an important target of protection, and nothing could happen to her. Mu Ran and Tang Wei are resting in the carriage. Tang Wei, let your cousin come into the carriage to rest. The wind outside is very strong, and with his injuries, he cannot suffer from the cold. Mu Ran said concernedly. What a considerate girl. Tang Wei had an idea and said lightly, Miss, don't look at that cousin of mine just because he is a wooden person. In actuality, he cares a lot about his face. If I go and talk to him, it won't be effective. I will go and talk to him then. As expected, Mu Ran fell into Tang Wei's trap. Looking at Mu Ran getting off the carriage, Tang Wei didn't know if what she did was right or wrong. I wouldn't have harmed Mu Ran, right? Thinking about it, if Mu Ran really liked Song Kong Hong, with Song Kong Hong's personality, he might not accept her, and Mu Ran would be sad. In the future, it's better not to try and pull strings, and let nature take its course. Let's see if they are fated to be together or not, and I can't force it. Song Kong Hong was sitting cross-legged on a big rock at the side and seemed to be cultivating. Hearing the slight footsteps beside him, Song Kong Hong opened his eyes. Mu Ran looked at Song Kong Hong's enormous body and thought back to last night. This body enveloped me, and at that time, it seemed to be very safe. Song Kong Hong, the wind here is strong, you should go and rest in the carriage. Cold wind would howl during the night in northern Liang, and it was indeed rather cold. Furthermore, this was a plain, and the wind was even stronger. After hearing Mu Ran's words, Song Konghong shook his head and continued to close his eyes, seemingly not willing to pay attention to Mu Ran. Mu Ran felt that Song Konghong's behavior was normal. Thus, Mu Ran didn't leave and sat on the other side of the big rock. Actually, when I was young, I didn't like to talk either. Mu Ran said in a low voice while slightly looking at the starry sky. Song Konghong heard Mu Ran's words, but he still remained silent. He even recalled that a long time ago, Yu Hua had also been like this, speaking her mind to me. Since you don't like me, why are you speaking your mind? Could it be that I, Song Konghong, am just a listener? I am not willing to be a listener. Mu Ran didn't know what Song Konghong was thinking in his heart, and he didn't feel any abnormalities. Mu Ran seemed to be consoling Song Konghong, telling him to have confidence, and not to lock himself up. Some children don't like to play with me, and even my brother doesn't like to play with me. He said that I am a boring person. Mu Ran laughed bitterly. My childhood is truly not that good. As I slowly grew up, there were indeed people who played with me. However, I know that they did it with an ulterior motive. As Mu Ran spoke, the tone of his words seemed to have changed. Originally, he wanted to enlighten Song Konghong, but now, he was telling Song Konghong about his own matters. This kind of mutual deception is actually very tiring for me. Even when I was in Tianliang's sect, I didn't experience something like this. Because of a heaven's will, it seems that everyone's opinion of me has changed. If I had known that it would be like this, I wouldn't have gone to snatch that heaven's will. Mu Ran paused for a moment. Why am I talking about myself? Didn't I want to enlighten him? I still haven't thanked you. Thank you for saving me last night. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here and talking to you right now. Thank you, you are really a good listener. Mu Ran's last sentence made Song Konghong think of Yu Hua. I remember that Yu Hua had also said this sentence before. Song Konghong immediately jumped down from the big rock, then leaned against the bonfire and laid down. His meaning was very clear: I don't want to listen to you, and I don't want to be a listener. Mu Ran didn't know why Song Konghong suddenly got angry. Could it be that he said something wrong just now? But it doesn't feel like he said anything wrong. Looking at Song Konghong, Mu Ran pursed his lips and walked into the carriage. Tang Wei also heard what Mu Ran said just now. She cursed Song Konghong in her heart. You have already lived for over 10,000 years, why are you still so childish? It's not like Mu Ran intentionally brought up your sad matters. Chapter 763. After returning to the carriage, Mu Ran was very calm. She leaned against the side and rested, not saying anything. Perhaps, Song Konghong still hasn't walked out of the shadow of the past few years. Most probably, he still has feelings for Yu Hua. After all, it is a relationship of over 10,000 years, how can it be broken just like that? But no matter what, Yu Hua is already someone's wife, and she is Lai Gu's wife. In the next few days, Wei Chang seemed to have increased his speed. This Song Konghong is really depressing. I originally wanted to stay on the road for a few more days, but this fellow is completely indifferent. What's the point of staying on the road? Song Konghong, who didn't know the truth, felt that this speed was fine. The further north they went, the colder the weather became. Snow also gradually appeared in the sky, and very quickly, a vast expanse of whiteness appeared in front of them. In Kangluo continent, no matter how cold the south is, there is no snow. But in the north, there is snow for half a year, especially in the location of Wushu Empire. However, the endless snow scenery was not bad. Occasionally, pedestrians would appear on the road, and they were all honest villagers. When they saw such a luxurious carriage, they would first be shocked and then kneel on the snow. When the carriage disappeared, only then did they stand up. However, their pants were already wet from the snow. This was how it was in Kangluo continent. After more than 10 days of bumpy travel, they were about to reach Wushu Empire. Mu Ran pulled open the curtain of the carriage and observed the expressions of the pedestrians. She discovered that the pedestrians were all smiling and chatting happily. If this Wushu Empire is a ghost city, how can there be so many people here, and all of them are very happy? Seems like this Wushu Empire should be a good country. I am looking forward to meeting the king. Suddenly, a clamor came into the carriage from outside. What's wrong? Mu Ran asked curiously. Miss, come down and you will know. Wei Chang smiled. Looking at Wushu Empire from this angle is very refreshing. Its grandeur is even greater than those countries in Heavenly God realm. Mu Ran walked out of the carriage with doubt. When she saw the scenery in front of her, she couldn't help but open her small mouth, appearing very shocked. Mu Ran felt that she had seen the huge Tianliang sect before, but she was still shocked by the scene in front of her. The surroundings were indeed snowing, but in the sky above Wushu Empire, the sky seemed to have opened its eyes. The golden sunlight shone on Wushu Empire, making people feel its majesty and grandeur. Compared to the Gu de Duchy, this place was simply too magnificent. The Gu de Duchy was like a run-down little city. Mu Ran was only looking at the sky. That majestic city wall was so dazzling that he couldn't even see the end of it. There were city towers every 300 meters. Because he was standing quite far away, Mu Ran wasn't able to see how tall the city wall was. But from this height, he seemed to be able to see the Wushu Empire's royal palace. Among all the buildings, only the imperial palace was the tallest. The majestic building showed its prestige. The entire imperial palace gave off a strong sense of oppression, as if it was warning everyone. Those who obey me will prosper. Those who oppose me shall perish. Miss, we still have to hurry. We have to enter the city before nightfall. Wei Chang said. Mu Ran returned to the carriage with astonishment. However, she was still looking at Voidless Empire outside the carriage. Suddenly, he had a thought. Even if he brought his troops here, would he have any chance of winning? This was not the Lingtai country of the past. This was a brand new country, Wushu Empire. However, at this moment, Mu Ran was starting to worry about this Voidless Empire. Would it attack other countries? From the looks of it, they are very powerful. The city seemed to be right in front of them, but in actuality, the city was still very far away. After about 2 hours passed, the city walls of Voidless Empire could finally be seen. Right now, Mu Ran had already gotten off the carriage, and the astonishment on her face had yet to dissipate. Just now, when she was looking at the city walls from afar, they seemed to be normal. However, only when she got closer to the city walls did she discover. The city walls were actually 300 meters tall, and the city walls felt as if they were going to rush into the clouds. Furthermore, when she looked to the right side, she couldn't even see the end of the city walls. Just how big is this Voidless Empire? Mu Ran even felt that the materials used to build the city walls were not ordinary. Furthermore, the city walls were faintly emitting out the smell of an imprint. Just that, the imprint was temporarily suppressed. If the imprint were to explode out, the imprint would be able to cause a lot of damage. If one were to encounter an invader and recklessly attack without understanding the situation, one would definitely suffer a huge loss. The golden city gates that were 100 meters tall caused Mu Ran to be dumbfounded. Just how rich is this Voidless Empire? This is too extravagant, isn't it? Even the city gates are made out of gold. There were also the words Voidless Empire, which gave off a strong feeling of might. Everyone could only look up to it, and red flags were hung on both sides of the city gates. Looking at the hearts on the flags, Mu Ran laughed lightly. Seems like the king here is a good person. This place has changed so much. Tang Wei, who was at the side, shouted out exaggeratedly. That's right. Wei Chang also began cooperating with Tang Wei. Mu Ran observed for a while and felt that there weren't a lot of people entering the city. This place is so good, why are there so few people entering the city? Suddenly, an old granny who was passing by stopped her footsteps and said to Mu Ran with a smile, "Little girl, you still don't know about this, right? It hasn't been long since Voidless Empire appeared, and we just received the news about it. Furthermore, Voidless Empire has 3 city gates, and this is the side gate." Side gate? Mu Ran cried out in astonishment. The old granny nodded her head. "The main gate is on our right side, and we will be there in about an hour." Mu Ran, to be able to reach the main gate in about an hour, there should be another side gate at the side. Just how long is this city wall? It is indeed very long. For this reason, Yihua opened up 3 gates to welcome the residents. This city wall is too big, right? Mu Ran said in astonishment. "Little girl, Voidless Empire gives us a lot of benefits, we just have to pay a bit of money every month, and when we get old, we will get a pension and a lot of benefits." The old granny laughed a few times, then walked into the bright Voidless Empire. This was the first time Mu Ran heard of such a thing. Pay a bit of money, and when we get old, we will be able to get a pension. This is very novel. The 4 walked to the bottom of the city wall, and Mu Ran sized up the guards on both sides of the city wall. Whether a country's military strength was strong or not, one could look at the guards. However, these 2 rows of white-armored warriors gave Mu Ran a very strong feeling. That tall and straight figure of the white-armored warriors was not moving at all, that pair of tiger eyes were staring straight ahead, and even all of the white-armored warriors were breathing at the same time. However, no matter what, from these white-armored warriors, it could be seen that this Voidless Empire is very powerful. It has even surpassed Gouda Principality. Without any obstructions, the 4 walked into the city. However, they were still obstructed at the entrance. It wasn't really obstructed, it was just that they had to fill in some documents. Today, Brett was here to take over the shift, and he could already see Wei Chang and the others from far away, and he even saw Mu Ran. In the recent month, Mu Ran's name was very popular in the group, and everyone wanted to see just what kind of girl Mu Ran was. Chapter 764. Mu Ran also looked at Brett and realized that this woman was so beautiful and tall. It was a pity that her body was a bit petite. She really envied these girls with good figures. "Miss, what is the meaning of this?" Mu Ran looked at the information on the table. Brett was also bored at home, so he replaced Guan Yanqin today. This is the information that every person who enters the city has to fill in. This information will be added to the spirit tablet, and it will be used as a symbol of one's identity. Staying in an inn, doing business, renting a place to stay, giving birth to a child, all of these will depend on this spirit tablet to become a legal citizen of Voidless Empire. Hearing Brett's explanation, Mu Ran's eyes lit up. How did they think of such a method? When I meet the king later, I must learn some knowledge and apply it to my own country. Thank you, I got it, Mu Ran said softly and began to write down the information. Wei Chang and the others also pretended to write something. Mu Ran took the new spirit tablet and said to Tang Wei who was beside her, "This is really a magical place. Tang Wei, you can live here peacefully in the future." "Miss, don't you like this place?" Tang Wei asked curiously. Mu Ran looked at the street in front of her. It was clean and there were trees planted on both sides. Under the contrast of the green leaves, the whole city revealed a new kind of life. Mu Ran had never seen a city with such a spacious street before. The ground was spotless, and there were even cleaners and patrolling soldiers. The faces of the commoners were brimming with happiness. Although the city was still rather cold and cheerless, Mu Ran felt that if news of a place like Wushu Empire were to spread out, the entire city would be filled with countless people. This place will definitely be filled to the brim. This is going to be a great country. The scale of this country will surpass the other 3 countries. But at this moment, Mu Ran was worried. The rise of Voidless Empire would definitely cause the other three empires to become envious, and they might even join forces to attack this place. At that time, there would be no lack of bloodshed. Mu Ran dared to guarantee that those kings would definitely do such a thing. Tang Wei, you guys find a place to stay first, I will go and have an audience with him. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei said worriedly, how can we do that? We are already here, we must follow Miss Tang Wei, we had an agreement. Mu Ran said in a low voice. I don't care, if something happens to Miss, I don't want to live anymore. When Wei Chang heard his wife's words, he blushed with shame. Your acting is a little too exaggerated. Mu Ran was also touched. She had only been together with Tang Wei for a month, but she could deeply feel Tang Wei's care. Tang Wei, thank you, but I still hope that you and Wei Chang can live a good life, don't follow me and take risks. Miss, without you, Uncle Wei and I wouldn't even be able to enter the city. We can't repay such a great kindness. Miss, we will always be by your side. Why does Wei Chang feel that his wife doesn't seem to be acting anymore? She seems to have gotten into character a bit. Tang Wei was indeed a little immersed in her role and treated Mu Ran as her younger sister. Mu Ran also had a headache. Tang Wei's persistence made Mu Ran feel happy, but also melancholy. Tang Wei, Wei Chang, Zhang Hong, thank you. Mu Ran bowed to the three of them. Along the way, he could clearly feel the care they had shown him. Wei Chang had a good impression of the kind Mu Ran, so he smiled. Zhang Konghong appeared very normal and did not say anything. Mu Ran was already used to Zhang Konghong's personality and did not say anything. The four of them walked towards the distant imperial palace. Even if they were standing at the same spot, they would still be able to see the tall tower on top of the imperial palace. Under the illumination of the setting sun, the tall tower revealed a sense of solemnity. Mu Ran was clearly right in front of them, yet, they walked all the way until night fell. Once again, Mu Ran felt that the number of people in Wushu Empire was very small. Right now, Wushu Empire was completely relying on Mu Ran to gain popularity. After walking to the outside of the walls of the imperial palace, Mu Ran exclaimed in admiration. This should be a city within a city, right? I feel that just a single imperial palace of Wushu Empire is already as big as Gouda Principality. Furthermore, the degree of extravagance that Wushu Empire has is already so terrifying. Finally, they walked to the entrance of the imperial palace, and Mu Ran's breathing became a bit hurried, because the entire imperial palace was emitting out a strange aura, causing one's heart to feel heavy, and one didn't dare to look up and could only lower one's head. On both sides of the imperial palace stood a row of black armored warriors. The aura that these black armored warriors were emitting out made Mu Ran feel even heavier. Furthermore, their faces could not be seen clearly at all, which added a sense of mystery to them. Mu Ran walked to the center of the imperial palace and shouted out respectfully, I am the holy maiden of Gouda Principality, I have something to ask of Wushu Empire's king. The two rows of black armored warriors did not have any reaction and just stood there quietly. Even if it was like this. Mu Ran did not dare to take another step forward. I feel that if I were to take another step forward, these black armored warriors would immediately pull out their swords. After waiting for a long time, Mu Ran shouted out again, Gouda Principality's holy maiden, requests to see the king. The golden gate of the imperial palace could be heard finally opening. The person who appeared was Zishan. Looking at the woman who was not far away, Mu Ran's beautiful eyes flashed past. Could this be the king's concubine? So beautiful. She is just as beautiful as the one I saw at the entrance just now, but that kind of beauty is different. Our emperor is already resting. If you have something to say, come back tomorrow morning. Zishan shouted out lightly, then walked back to the imperial palace. Mu Ran was slightly surprised. This woman doesn't seem to be the king's concubine. My God, such a beautiful woman is actually not the king's concubine. This is truly inconceivable. In Mu Ran's heart, such a beautiful woman would definitely be forcefully occupied by the king. Let's go and find an inn to rest first. Mu Ran said lightly. It is already so late, indeed, we shouldn't have come to meet the king. However, I am truly curious, and thus, I want to see just what the king looks like as soon as possible. Tang Wei nodded her head, and the four of them went to find an inn to rest. In the imperial palace, Yi Hua was sitting in his bedroom, and Dong Huang Baiji was standing behind Yi Hua. Dong Huang Baiji's delicate hands were lightly pressing onto her husband's shoulders, while Qingye was sitting at the side and peeling an orange. Yi Hua, didn't you want to meet this Mu Ran a lot recently? Why is it that now that she is here, why aren't you letting her in? Qingye peeled an orange and sent it to Yi Hua's mouth. Right now, Yi Hua was already used to being served like this by his wives. This is how a wife should be, I should have done this long ago. Yi Hua lightly chewed on the orange, then said, this Mu Ran is still a thorn right now, she needs to be polished properly. Others are serving the motherland, and yet, you said that she is a thorn. Qingye pinched onto her husband's cheeks petulantly, and Yi Hua immediately turned his head around and lightly bit onto Qingye's slender fingers. This caused Qingye's heart to jump. Even though we are already an old married couple, we are still unable to endure Yi Hua's teasing. Every time, Yi Hua's teasing would cause my heart to palpitate and my face to turn red. What a bad fellow. Chapter 765. Yi Hua slightly sucked on Qingye's finger, then said with a smile, think of a good show tomorrow and test this Mu Ran. You, a girl, risked her life to come here, yet you are bullying her. Dong Huang Baiji said with a smile. Yi Hua's gaze became serious, and he said in a low voice, since you risked your life to come here, then you should be prepared to die at any moment. Don't Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji know about Yi Hua's personality? They are thinking of ways to test Mu Ran and see if she can join the group. Yi Hua felt that right now, the number of people in the team was more or less enough. Thus, if anyone wanted to join the team, they would have to be the elites among the elites. There are still 2 idiots who are staying outside, and I have no idea what is going on with them. Perhaps, they might be able to bring me a bit of a surprise. Alright, let's go back and rest. After being bored for so many days, there is finally something going on. Yi Hua stood up, then pulled Qingye into his embrace, then pulled Dong Huang Baiji into his embrace as well. It was obvious that he was preparing to roam free. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were already used to it, and thus, they continued to let Yi Hua do whatever he wanted. Yi Hua, do you know what you look like right now? Dong Huang Baiji said with a smile. Yi Hua hugged onto his wife and asked curiously, what does it look like? Qingye said sweetly, tyrant. Yi Hua went into a slight daze, then laughed out loud, all right. I like this title. Qingye, Dong Huang Baiji, the arrival of Gu de Principality Saintess to Wushu Empire had caused quite a bit of a commotion. After all, Wushu Empire was also a vassal state of Gu de Principality in the past, and the reason why the Saintess came to Wushu Empire was most likely also because of this matter. However, seeing such a powerful voidless empire, all of the citizens seemed to believe that voidless empire would be invincible. The next morning, Mu Ran woke up very early, because she planned to go to the imperial palace by herself. After all, this was a very dangerous matter. However, just as she arrived at the inn, Mu Ran saw the 3 of them. Miss, where are you planning to go so early in the morning? Tang Wei curiously asked with a smile. Looking at the 3 people in front of her, Mu Ran's eyes were a little red. She smiled and said, Sister Tang. After Tang Wei heard that, she became a bit absent-minded. Soon after, she smiled and said, Miss. However, Mu Ran didn't know how powerful this sister was. If I acknowledge Tang Wei as my big sister, then Wei Chang will be my brother-in-law. What is Wei Chang? One of the 7 deadly sins, a direct subordinate of an honorable supreme. That was truly a position that was beneath only one and above all others. Thus, Mu Ran's unintentional action seemed to be a direct ticket to the team. But that might not be the case. Because my current identity is all fake, everyone was lying to Mu Ran. Mu Ran looked at Song Kong Hong again and sighed softly. The 4 of them arrived at the palace gate again. This time, before Mu Ran could say anything, the gates of the imperial palace had already opened. It's just that today, it's soul separation, it was another beautiful woman. This caused Mu Ran to be a bit confused. There are so many beautiful women in the imperial palace. If she isn't the emperor's, then who could she be? Just how beautiful is the empress? Mu Ran is truly too curious, please follow me. Li Hun said lightly. He also saw the legendary Mu Ran, and he gave off a feeling of closeness. Thank you, Mu Ran said softly. Last night, Zi Shan had also rushed out to take a look at Mu Ran. Everyone was very curious about what kind of girl Mu Ran was. Walking into the imperial palace, Mu Ran felt a sense of oppression. And as she walked deeper into the imperial palace, the sense of oppression became even stronger. Breathing became difficult, and even walking became difficult. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to feel it, but as a heaven's laws doer, Mu Ran was able to feel the terrifying aura. Just who is the emperor of this place? Walking up the stairs, Mu Ran seemed to be having a hard time, and sweat could be seen flowing down from her forehead. Li Hun, who was walking at the front, seemed to be very relaxed, and this made Mu Ran feel that it was inconceivable. Just how strong is this girl? I, a heaven's laws doer, am having such a hard time, and yet, she is actually able to walk so easily. Tang Wei and Wei Chang were ordinary people, so there was no problem with their performance. However, Song Kong Hong was about to show off her acting skills. Learning from Mu Ran's way of walking, it felt very weird. Furthermore, the stairs were not just ordinarily tall, if not, how could the height of the entire imperial palace be displayed? After quite a while, Mu Ran finally stepped onto the top of the stairs and let out a breath. I'm a bit tired, it feels as if I just went through a battle. Li Hun walked into the palace gate and shouted out respectfully, My emperor. Gu de Principality's holy maiden has arrived. Let her in. Mu Ran heard a deep and steady voice coming out from the palace gate. Judging from the voice, it should be a man. In Mu Ran's heart, she thought that the emperor was an old man, and didn't expect that the emperor was a young man. My emperor invites you in. Li Hun looked at Mu Ran and shouted out faintly. Mu Ran nodded her head respectfully, then slightly lowered her head and walked into the palace gate. Tang Wei and the others followed closely behind Mu Ran. Just after walking into the palace gate, Mu Ran felt that the panic in her heart was magnified infinitely, and her body couldn't help but tremble. Looking at the stone bricks beneath her feet, she felt that it was very weird. Mu Ran, who was walking forward with her head lowered, did not look at the 2 sides, and also did not look at Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne. Gu de Principality's holy maiden greets your majesty, long live your majesty. Mu Ran shouted out respectfully. However, Mu Ran only bowed down, while Tang Wei and the others who were behind her were all kneeling down. Audacious! Why are you still not paying your respects to our emperor? Li Gu shouted out according to the script. The current situation was very interesting. The Supreme Overlord brought along a group of subordinates and lied to a little girl. However, this smart little girl didn't know that everyone was just acting. Hearing Li Gu's words, Mu Ran suddenly calmed down. Paying my respects to the emperor is the etiquette of a subject. I am the Gu de Principality's holy maiden, and the person I pay my respects to is only the Gu de Principality's king. Impudent! Luo Ho shouted out coldly and immediately released a wave of pressure. Mu Ran immediately felt that the pressure on her back was very heavy, and her legs were unconsciously pressed down onto the ground. However, Mu Ran still had her dignity, and as a weak heaven's law doer, she risked her life to resist against the pressure. Yihua sat on the throne and watched quietly. Looking at the current performance, I barely passed the test. The Empress who was sitting on the two sides. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's expression didn't change. This is not the time to speak, and there is no need to speak. However, towards the girl below, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were rather impressed. A weak little girl actually dares to barge into Wushu Empire, very formidable. The subordinates who were standing on the two sides couldn't help but nod their heads. Although the girl is a bit weak, her character is tough enough. Luo Ho immediately increased the pressure on Mu Ran, and Mu Ran's legs were no longer able to withstand the pressure. This pressure feels as if it is being released by my master, and my master is a powerful king. A clear and melodious voice resounded throughout the hall, and holy maiden Mu Ran finally knelt in front of Yihua. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. However, facing such a powerful person, there was nothing she could do. Chapter 766. All of the subordinates were slightly startled. As expected of a girl with character, to actually dare to rebuke his honor, her guts are not ordinary. What? Do you have a problem with me? Yihua placed both of his hands on the dragon claws and asked lightly. Mu Ran, who was firmly pressed on the ground, said in a tender voice, "It's not that I have an opinion, I'm just disappointed." Yihua, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were almost unable to hold back their laughter. Who asked you to act cool in front of others? Look at what happened now, you are now unable to get out of this embarrassing situation. The group of subordinates remained silent. This seemed to have deviated from the script. They didn't expect Mu Ran to actually dare to say it. Raise your head. Yihua waved his hand and had Luo Ho release the pressure that he was exerting on Mu Ran. Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, felt her whole body relax, but she still maintained her posture, as if she was very stubborn. This emperor wants you to raise your head. Didn't you hear me? Yihua said gravely. This Mu Ran indeed has a personality, she is actually not afraid of me at all. If it was someone else, they would have long been scared to the point that they peed their pants. This time, Mu Ran did not resist. She slowly raised her head and saw the curious emperor. The first impression that Yihua gave Mu Ran was, evil qi. This man's appearance was indescribably stunning. His face seemed to be the product of meticulous sculpting. His handsomeness contained a unique beauty, and he was very young. This was different from the emperor he had imagined. And he also saw the empress. Although Mu Ran didn't know who was the queen, she felt that they were the most beautiful women she had ever seen. Their beauty couldn't be described with words. She felt that such perfect women shouldn't exist. When the three of them sat on top, they were simply too compatible. Furthermore, Mu Ran was also sizing up both sides with the corner of her eyes. There aren't any officials around. He also saw the three girls in the group. One of them was the one he saw at the city gate yesterday, the other one was last night, and the last one was the one who had just brought him in. Although they were also very beautiful, compared to the two women on the stage, they were still slightly inferior. Furthermore, there were actually two children in this group of people. The ones Mu Ran saw should be Yi Zizi and Kai Yun. Their bodies were no different from children. There were even green and red, and scarecrows. And the undead. There were also many beautiful women. Just what kind of country is this? There are no officials, there are only this kind of people, so strange. Tell me, which part of you are disappointed in me? Yihua asked again. Mu Ran let out a small sigh of relief. When I entered the city, the emperor admired you very much. Your system made this place very perfect. I thought that the emperor here should be a wise ruler. From your tone, it seems like I am not a wise ruler. Yihua asked back. Yes, perhaps you are a tyrant. All of Mu Ran's subordinates sucked in a mouthful of cold air. This Mu Ran's guts can cover the sky. He actually said that his honor is a tyrant. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were a bit astonished. Just yesterday night, I said that Yihua is a tyrant, and I didn't expect that this Mu Ran would be able to see through Yihua's true nature with just a single look. At this moment, Yihua laughed. This Mu Ran, you have quite a good eye. To other emperors, they might be very angry that others said that. After all, tyrant was a derogatory term, but Yihua felt that this was a compliment to him. Because what she said was very right. I was a tyrant from the very beginning. I never wanted to be a wise ruler. This Mu Ran was just like what Wei Chang said, courageous and smart. Your name is Mu Ran? Yihua asked faintly. Yes. Mu Ran replied, neither servile nor overbearing. Do you know that you have already committed a crime punishable by death? I know. Then why are you still saying it? I am just saying what I think. Mu Ran said lightly, seemingly unable to hear the waves that were surging in her heart. Yihua laughed lightly, then his expression suddenly changed as he shouted out, men. Two black armored soldiers could be seen walking in from the door, then kneeled on the ground and shouted out respectfully, my emperor. Drag them out and behead them. Yihua waved his hand and said lightly. All of Yihua's subordinates were startled. This is already a serious deviation from the script. There is no such thing as this. Even Qingye and Donghuang Baiji looked at Yihua confusedly, seemingly saying, after waiting for so long, you are going to behead them? Yes. The black armored soldiers would definitely listen to Yihua. Meanwhile, Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, still appeared very calm, seemingly as if she had long expected that this would happen. The two black armored soldiers arrived at Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, and propped her up. Your Majesty, my family's young miss didn't mean to offend you. Your Majesty, please forgive her. Tang Wei hurriedly pleaded, thinking that this might be a part of his honor's performance. Yihua said faintly, behead them as well. After hearing what Yihua said, Mu Ran finally had a reaction as she shouted out emotionally, Your Majesty. This matter was caused by me, it has nothing to do with them. What's the point of you pleading for them? What qualifications do you have to plead with me, Gouda Principality's holy maiden? That is nothing more than a joke. Yihua said faintly. His expression was indifferent, no different from a tyrant. Mu Ran couldn't care so much. She immediately kneeled on the ground and shouted out, Your Majesty, they are innocent. If I had offended you in any way just now, please punish one of them. Holy Maiden. Then why didn't you think for them when you spoke just now? Don't you know what will happen if you anger me? And they will also be implicated by you. You only cared about your own words. Have you ever thought about their comfort? You have disappointed me greatly. After what Yihua said, everyone seemed to feel that what Yihua said made sense. Meanwhile, Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, looked blankly at Yihua, who was sitting on the throne. I have indeed neglected big sister Tang Wei and the others. What he said is right. I didn't care about their comfort, I only cared about myself. In actuality, this is human nature. Mu Ran isn't a real holy maiden. She didn't think that much, but Yihua grabbed onto Mu Ran's faulty wording and crushed the line of defense in Mu Ran's heart. Right now, Yihua was also a person who used his brain. He was no longer that skeleton who only knew how to fight and kill. With just a single sentence, Yihua crushed Mu Ran, to the point that Mu Ran started to doubt her own style. Holy Maiden Mu Ran, during this 1 month, I have heard of your deeds. You have been governing the country since you were very young, and you even have the title of a genius. You are the holy maiden in the eyes of the commoners, but after seeing you today, I feel that those are all rumors. You are very selfish, not caring about the life and death of others, am I right? Mu Ran had a blank look on her face. She was completely unable to refute Yi Hua. Right now, she didn't even dare to look at big sister Tang Wei and the others. Death is a kind of release for you. Yi Hua waved his hand, and the two black armored warriors lifted Mu Ran up again. In an instant. Chapter 767. Mu Ran, who was at a loss, once again looked towards Cao Kong Hong. It seems that every time I am in a life or death situation, Cao Kong Hong would always protect me without any hesitation. Even if I did something wrong just now, Cao Kong Hong would still do so. Mississippi. Right at this moment, Tang Wei also came over and held on to Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Wei Chong, who was at the side of Tang Wei, didn't understand what kind of script his honor was playing. A sadomasochism script, a damsel in distress script, or a life and death script. Mu Ran absent-mindedly looked at Tang Wei, and suddenly felt very wronged. Just now, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry, Sister Tang. Mu Ran, who had always been strong, was actually feeling wronged to the point of crying. Mu Ran was crying because she was wronged by Yi Hua. Of course, there was also their understanding. At this kind of moment, Yi Hua didn't blame Mu Ran and was still protecting Mu Ran. Especially Blue Sky Red, Miss, don't you think we don't know your personality? It's hard for people to not make mistakes. Tang Wei carefully guided. Mu Ran's life had always been smooth sailing, and she rarely experienced any setbacks. Even in the Guda Duchy, the king did not dare to rashly punish her because she had the huge Tianliang sect behind her. Mu Ran had neglected one point. This was not the Duchy of Guda. The person sitting on the throne was not her own king, but a tyrant. If he wanted to kill someone, it would not be because he had a powerful backer. Even if the heavens were to back him up, this emperor would kill him without a second word. Cao Kong Hong had no choice but to carry out his honor's secret mission, which was to protect Mu Ran. This Mu Ran was about to be chopped. Could it be that he still wouldn't step forward? In fact, Cao Kong Hong was also wondering if he should continue with the secret mission. When Mu Ran was lifted for the second time, Cao Kong Hong decided to continue with the mission. Lai Gu, who was standing at the side, seemed to have understood his honor's intention. It wasn't just Lai Gu who understood his honor's intention, everyone else more or less understood it as well. Is his honor directing a plan to injure himself to gain the confidence of others? Yi Hua did not think too much about it, he just wanted to give Mu Ran a blow, that's all. This person's life mustn't be too smooth sailing. Only after experiencing setbacks would one know of one's own inadequacies. I, the Supreme Overlord, had also experienced setbacks before I woke up. This Mu Ran, who had been maintaining a calm state of mind the entire time, just now caused me to feel very unhappy. Mu Ran, you do have some brains, but in my eyes, you are just a person with brains. If you have this kind of attitude, what use do I have for you? Do you really think I want you to join? What a joke. To attack my bodyguard in front of the emperor, Mu Ran, your bodyguard's guts are just as big as yours. Yi Hua said gravely, and killing intent gradually spread out from his body. This is truly a group of people trying to deceive the pitiful little girl, they are all in the same group. Mu Ran hurriedly knelt down and begged, Your Majesty, Cao Kong Hong didn't do it on purpose. He only did it to save me. You sure are loyal. How do you think we should settle this matter? Yi Hua asked back. This was also a part of the test was to see Mu Ran's adaptability. The subordinates naturally knew that his honor was going to start the examination, and they were truly afraid of his honor's examination. This was especially so for Fusher, who unconsciously took a step back. Mu Ran quickly thought about it. It did not matter to her, but how could she save their lives? But how was he going to excuse himself from the attack? It was impossible. Your Majesty, I will use the soul of the heavenly path in exchange for their safety. Mu Ran had no other choice but to contribute his heavenly path. This was no different from sacrificing oneself. By extracting the heavenly Tao's soul, one wouldn't be able to live for long. In the end, one would wither and die. Yihua naturally understood what the heaven's path soul was used for, and he was a little astonished. They had been in contact with Mu Ran for about a month, but Mu Ran could actually use the heavenly Tao to exchange for their safety. It had to be said that Mu Ran was a girl of flesh and blood. Although she was indeed muddle-headed at times, her mind was still straightforward. In that kind of situation, a wave of wretchedness would have been the best result. This Mu Ran was still too upright. If Mu Ran was a little more tactful, how could she annoy her king? But it was because of her integrity that Wei Chang took a fancy to Mu Ran and strongly recommended her. Soul of the heavens, this is a pretty good suggestion. Yihua said lightly. Mu Ran heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had agreed. But this emperor doesn't want your soul of the heavenly Tao. This emperor isn't interested in that. Mu Ran, who had just relaxed, became nervous again. Your Majesty, this is all my fault. They only offended your Majesty to protect you, please forgive them. Didn't you just say that? This emperor is a tyrant, and recklessly killing people seems to be what a tyrant should do. This emperor is just being the tyrant you speak of. Mu Ran felt that she was actually speechless. I was the one who said all those words. This emperor is very formidable, to be able to defeat me with just a few words. What? Saintess is speechless now. Yihua asked faintly. My eloquence is getting better and better. With just a few words, I was able to make this genius speechless. Yihua looked towards Kong Kong Hong, then looked towards Yihua. This emperor has an idea that can pardon all of your crimes. Hearing this sentence, Mu Ran seemed to have seen hope. Your Majesty is benevolent. Now you know that this emperor is benevolent. Just now, you even shamelessly boasted that this emperor is a tyrant. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji snickered in their hearts. This Yihua is such a miser, scaring everyone to death. Mu Ran lowered her head and remained silent. I have learned a lot of things today. Seeing that this guard of yours is loyal and courageous, let's see how much he is willing to sacrifice for you. Mu Ran didn't understand. Yihua shouted out. Yihua, who was in the group, went into a slight daze, then walked out and shouted out respectfully, Your Majesty. Your subordinate is here. Spar with this loyal and courageous man and see how loyal and courageous he is. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard this. Let Yihua beat up Blue Sky Red. This doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Our relationship is already very stiff to begin with. If we do this, wouldn't it mean that we won't be able to contact each other even if we die? Right now, Yihua didn't understand what his honor was trying to do. There are so many people here, why did his honor ask me to come out and spar with Tsang Kong Hong? The main point was, Tsang Kong Hong was only at the level of a doujia at the moment. This was clearly a death sentence, and Moonlight couldn't bring herself to do it. At this moment, Tsang Kong Hong was dumbfounded. He did not understand what his honor meant by asking Moonlight to beat him up. I don't understand. Not only did Tsang Kong Hong not understand, even Qingye and Donghuang Baiji did not understand what Yihua meant. In actuality, Yihua was trying to free the two of them from this stalemate. If there was no breakthrough, the stalemate between the two of them would never be resolved. Today, I'm going to make Tsang Kong Hong understand that this woman is no longer the woman that you imagined her to be. She was someone else's woman. She can hurt you. Don't have any more illusions. Chapter 768. Your Majesty. I'll spar with you. Mu Ran hastily accepted the challenge without hesitation. Song Kong Hong was just an ordinary fighter. He was no match for Mu Ran. Mu Ran, are you going to give up your last chance to save yourself? Don't use your personality to challenge my bottom line. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. Mu Ran went silent. If he angered this emperor again, Tang Wei and the others would be implicated again. Everyone, move aside. Yi Hua shouted out faintly. His subordinates retreated to the side, leaving an empty space in the middle. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran to stand up and stood at the side. Mu Ran stared at that tall figure as her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She could feel that Song Kong Hong was against her. But why would he stand out to protect her every single time? She truly couldn't understand. But no matter what, Mu Ran was still moved when she saw that resolute back view. She prayed to the heavens that Song Kong Hong would not be injured. Even if he had to suffer the pain, they were all good people, and he was the one who put them in danger. At this moment, Moonlight's emotions were very complicated. She slowly turned around and looked at Song Kong Hong, who was wearing a mask. Song Kong Hong also turned to look at Yue Hua. Her face under the mask was a little strange. It was tense and relaxed at times. It was as if he was in a very complicated mood. Isn't Yue Hua the same as well? However, since his honor has already spoken, how can I possibly disobey his order? Kai Yun, who was standing not too far away from Yue Hua, was also very worried about his two subordinates. On the day of Yue Hua's wedding, the relationship between Yue Hua and Yue Hua had already become stiff. And now, his honor is lighting a fire on this relationship. Could it be that his honor wants Song Kong Hong to completely give up on him? As the people involved, Moonlight and Sky Hong did not understand this logic. Seeing that Moonlight was just inches away from him, Song Kong Hong lowered his body slightly and got into an attacking stance. The aura of a doge immediately spread out. When Moonlight saw Firmament Hong's action, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Sky Red took the initiative to attack. This 10,000-year relationship was finally going to come to an end today. The aura of a doge instantly spread throughout the palace. Sky Red simply punched Yue Hua's face. Yue Hua stood still and waited patiently. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. Boom! The punch slammed heavily into Yue Hua's face, and a dull thud rang out. The huge rebound force sent Sky Red flying, and he crashed into one of the pillars in the palace. Boom! Boom! The dragon on the pillar suddenly moved. It let out a dragon roar, seemingly very displeased. Yi Hua's gaze turned cold, and the latter obediently fused back into the pillar. Mu Ran was dumbfounded. She thought that the dragon on the pillar had been carved. Who would have thought that the divine dragon was real? Just now, the dragon had appeared and let out a dragon roar, and then it returned to its original state. Could it be that he was hallucinating just now? However, right now, a red of blue sky had landed under the pillar, and a trace of blood flowed out from the mask, fixing one's strength at the level of a dojo would not be able to withstand such rebound damage. On the other hand, Yue Hua did not attack at all. She only used the weakest defensive method. Even the weakest method was not something a fighter could withstand. Song Kong Hong stood up slowly and attacked Yue Hua again. Boom! Song Kong Hong's body was sent flying again. He seemed to be using this method to wake himself up and stop being so stubborn. She was someone else's woman, no longer the Yue Hua from before. Blue Sky Red attacked again and was sent flying again. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, was crying. Her heart was heavy as she watched Sky Red's attacks fail again and again. Yue Hua was also furious. What are you doing? Was he using such a method to make himself suffer? Sure. You did it. Song Kong Hong punched out once again, and this time, Yue Hua finally moved. A water pillar gushed out from Yuhua's body and directly grabbed onto Tsang Konghong's fist. The water pillar then condensed into another fist and fiercely punched onto Tsang Konghong's abdomen. Boom! A shock wave was actually created by this punch. Tsang Konghong. Mu Ran couldn't help but shout out. Yihua instantly released an oppressive might and pressed Mu Ran onto the ground, making her unable to move. This is something that my subordinates have only seen. I have to settle this matter today. Blood was flowing out from under Tsang Konghong's mask. Feeling Yuhua's punch didn't land on his body, instead, it landed on his heart. Boom! Yuhua punched out once again. Tsang Konghong felt great. The more Yuhua punches me like this, the more my feelings towards her will fade. Stop punching me. Mu Ran shouted out miserably. She was worried for Tsang Konghong, completely unaware that the two of them were currently dealing with their relationship issues. Tsang Konghong raised his left fist, seemingly wanting to punch Yuhua again. However, another water pillar grabbed onto Tsang Konghong's fist, and Tsang Konghong's entire body was hung in the air by the water pillar. Then, Tsang Konghong was punched by the water fist. Suddenly, Tsang Konghong felt that what Yuhua did was not bad. This way, I won't have to worry about you anymore. Are you living well every day? Are you eating on time every day? Are you happy? Yuhua seemed to have understood as she punched Tsang Konghong fiercely. However, such a scene caused Mu Ran, who was at the side, to cry. Yihua's subordinates remained silent. They didn't expect that today's matter would turn out like this. After punching out one last time and sending Tsang Konghong flying away, Yuhua stood at her original spot and remained silent. Meanwhile, Tsang Konghong had already fainted. Yuhua's control was very good, so Tsang Konghong's life wasn't in danger. However, Tsang Konghong, who was under the mask, had a smile on her face. Yihua released Mu Ran's oppressive might, and Mu Ran hurriedly ran over to check on Tsang Konghong's injuries. Mu Ran felt that Tsang Konghong's injuries were very serious. This woman is so ruthless, she is actually abusing the weak. Yihua let out a breath. His mood didn't seem to be too good. Today's matter shall end here. Holy Maiden is not allowed to take even half a step out of the palace. After finished speaking, Yihua turned around and left. We respectfully send off our emperor. Yihua's subordinates shouted out respectfully. Everyone took a look at Mu Ran and Tsang Konghong, then silently turned around and left. Only Li Hun remained at the scene and arranged a place for Tsang Konghong to stay. Follow me. Li Hun said faintly. The petite Mu Ran carried Tsang Konghong on her back once again, and her beautiful eyes were still red. When Li Hun saw that Mu Ran actually cared so much for Tsang Konghong, he was a bit surprised. It's a pity that a man who is in the midst of falling out of love is completely unable to understand the care and concern of other women. However, after this incident, Tsang Konghong should have already given up on Yuhua. The palace was very big. Li Hun arranged the most ordinary palace for Mu Ran and the others to stay in. After giving a few instructions, Li Hun left. Meanwhile, Mu Ran took out all of the medicine that she had and gave Tsang Konghong's treatment. When Tang Wei and Wei Chang, who were standing at the side, saw how anxious Mu Ran was for Tsang Konghong, they felt slightly at ease. As for whether or not Tsang Konghong would have such good fortune, they didn't know. There are a lot of women in this world, but one must definitely find a woman who loves one. And must definitely not find a woman who loves one but doesn't love one back. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.